But yeah, back to Tottenham Hotspur. Yeah, yes, Ali, I feel we might not, with the squad we've got. We've only got 3 players there at our club at the moment who actually want to be there and want to fight. And what it actually means to be a Tottenham Hotspur FC.
talkSPORT understands Roberto Deserby is close to a 5-year agreement with Spurs following a breakthrough in talks. Our chief football correspondent is Alex Crook.
I'm told there's a very lucrative bonus on offer to Deserby if he comes in and keeps Spurs in the Premier League, and sources in Italy this morning suggesting a 5-year contract as well until 2030. It's a massive risk, isn't it, for both parties?
Deserby is expected to become the highest paid manager in Tottenham's history and the 3rd highest paid in the league, but he'll take a significant pay cut if they go down. Simon Jordan believes Deserby won't be blamed should Spurs get relegated and can take inspiration from Rafa Benitez's time at Newcastle.
Bring them back up again in his own image, with a new set of thinking behind it and a board that's going to be sat there going, we've made an absolute holics of this. This manager might need to be given all the things that previous managers haven't been given, which is a lot of latitude and a lot more control.
Elsewhere, Thomas Tuchel has, in his own words, set the narrative straight about the withdrawal of Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka from the England camp. It's after talkSPORT's Gambiak Bonlahor raised suspicions that Arteta was doing a Fergie by tactically pulling players out.
If it would have been maybe a last game of the season, we would have kept them and tried everything. But in this moment of the season, it did not make sense. They were both in discomfort, clearly in discomfort, when we did the medical assessment. So it made absolutely no sense that they stay.
Tuchel told us Saka played through pain in the League Cup final. Jude Bellingham is also not fit enough to face Japan, live on talkSPORT tomorrow night. Meanwhile, the England boss has also been asked, what's plan B if Harry Kane gets injured?
I have some ideas, but I will not make them public. I'm happy that Harry is in camp and back in camp, our skipper and captain and goal scorer, and he will lead the team tomorrow on the pitch.
And Celtic have paid a 5-figure sum to a victim of historical sexual abuse, settling a case a month after it started. The man, who cannot be named for legal reasons, claims he was attacked by Frank Kearney at Celtic Boys Club in 1989. Coach Kearney had previously been convicted of 9 charges of abusing young footballers in the 1980s. There's more, as ever, on talkSPORT.com.
Good evening and welcome along. This is Kick-Off here on talkSPORT. I'm Natalie Sawyer, and alongside me this Monday evening it's the former England midfielder Danny Murphy and also the Mirror's assistant editor Darren Lewis. All right, doing high fives. You should have done this when had you have arrived, 10 minutes at least ago.
Well, we were out there having a nice old chat. We thought we'd leave you to do the news.
Thank you.
And we come in nice and fresh.
Thank you. And you eat your little satsuma.
Our little satsuma.
Easy peeler.
Okay.
Indeed. Roberto Deserby is in the hot seat to replace Igor Tudor at Tottenham.
We ask why.
Why?
What has he done? What makes him this guy that everyone...
Let me get through this.
Right, okay, I've got issues.
Crikey, I haven't done this show with you guys for a long time. There's a reason I clearly kept saying, no, I don't want to do it. Darren Lewis, nightmare. Is this one the right decision for the players and the club? More Premier League players are withdrawing from their international squads. This is going to become a bigger problem. Moses Itauma dispatched Jermaine Franklin on talkSPORT. We're going to look back at that and look ahead to the big bout coming your way between Derek Chisora and Deontay Wilder. We'll also hear the latest from Thomas Tuchel ahead of Japan tomorrow night, which is live on talkSPORT. And there's going to be a whole lot more that we're going to discuss. This is Kick-Off on talkSPORT. Chaps, how are you? How you doing?
Very well, very well.
Darren? Danny?
I'm good, thanks, yeah. Had a weekend off, which most people did with the internationals, which is great in some ways, but then you're kind of craving a decent match, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Because they're all chess matches, really, aren't they? And friendly matches where everyone's looking after themselves. And you want that competitiveness of the Premier League back and all of the subplots and storylines with it as well.
Yes, quite. And the England-Uruguay game wasn't exactly the most thrilling of encounters on Friday night either. But we'll come to England a little bit later on, because we're going to really talk about pressing matters in the Premier League, and that is who will fill the shoes of Igor Tudor following his departure this week from Tottenham. He leaves the club with immediate effect.
Igor Tudor is no longer the manager of Tottenham Hotspur. Igor Tudor is out of the door.
And Spurs have got a big problem now. 1 place, 1 point above the relegation places.
It's not going to be all about tactics anymore. There are 7 games to play, 21 points to be won. Now it's all about a manager coming in and getting the players to believe in themselves.
From what I'm told, nobody at this stage is lined up to come in and replace Igor Tudor.
I find that absolutely astonishing that they don't have anybody in place.
I don't think there is an answer. I think, seriously, we are going to struggle to get those 6 points that we need. It is dire. The board have stitched us up.
Well, that's just a flavour then of the reaction that we have been bringing you here on talkSPORT. And the news came through yesterday that Igor Tudor had left his role at Tottenham. And before we move on to Roberto Deserby matters, I should get both of your thoughts really on this decision that has come in this international break, that after just 7 games in charge, it's all over for Igor Tudor. It does certainly feel as though, well, it was a decision to appoint him that was disastrously wrong, Danny.
Yeah, I mean, he was walking into a team and a club that was in disarray, lack of confidence, lots of injuries. There is an argument to say who could have done what, and we'll see in the next 7 games. But from my eyes, when I watched them play, the Arsenal game, his first one, I think it was, you could forgive. Arsenal bang at it and they're a good side. But I was at the Fulham game, Fulham-Tottenham, and I watched live the Tottenham Palace game. And if you take those first 3, then I couldn't really see what he was trying to do. He had 2 different formations in the 3 games, mixed around the personnel that he did have available in a couple of positions, some of them not looking that comfortable. Second half at Liverpool, they showed some fight and resilience, looked reasonably well organised, like they turned a little bit of a corner, but now in hindsight, that's probably because Liverpool was so poor, nervy. So I was really struggling to see, and I can only liken it. The only time I had a relegation battle was with Roy Hodgson at Fulham. And although Roy had longer, he never deviated once from the formation and the message. He came in and he went, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. And we stuck to it. Now, I don't think he'd have changed that, because Tudor was in what did he say, 6 games?
7.
Or league games, however many it was. So he would have had over 10 games. I think players, when they're struggling and confidence is low, you've got to really simplify it. And that can be one of 2 things. It can be really well organised defensively. Everyone knows the shape without the ball, and then kind of just rely on a little bit of luck with the ball. Or you go all in attack and play your high energy and do whatever you do, stick with it.
Can I just offer you something, Danny? Because I covered Fulham during that period when you were fighting the relegation. And the other thing, and you can elaborate on this, that Roy was very good at was man management. When he went in there was clarity about his message. He knew how to strike the right tone with the players. And the things that he wanted to do, and I put it to you, you guys bought into straight away.
Yeah, he was very experienced, very good communicator. Good one-on-one, made players feel comfortable and at ease, absolutely, for sure. Whereas Tudor had this, I don't really know what he said to them behind closed doors, but there was some words in the press after games that was quite detrimental towards the players, and it felt like it was too early to be doing that. Although I'm a bit old school with that. I don't mind a manager digging out some players in the press if he's already said it to your face. No problem. You just got to, sometimes they do it for a reason, to see a reaction. So that wasn't really why I was against him. It was more the games I saw at the beginning where I thought, there's no clear identity here. I can't see what he's been doing on the training pitch. With the Fulham game was a great example. He played, I think he played Mouani and Solanke up top and played a 4-4-2. And Fulham try and play and press you and all that. And I'm thinking, you got 2 big lumps up top. There's no confidence in the team anyway. get it up to them, play off them, have a bit of a scrap up there. They're two big lads. Pick up some pieces. They had Gallagher in midfield who could put himself about, pick up some second balls, and they played Gallagher on the right of a 4. He didn't want to be there. He wanted to come inside, and you could see it was lopsided, and Fulham were bombing down the left. I just didn't see it. So, long way of saying I think it was the right decision. I think it was probably only delayed because of the unfortunate death of his father, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It was a gamble, obviously, and a lot of people were saying at the time of his appointment, Darren, that he's had no Premier League experience, no English football experience. That in itself is an issue potentially. Although we've seen many foreign managers come in and hit the ground running, so I don't see that as sometimes as an excuse. And brought in because apparently, obviously, in his coaching roles previously, he's kind of been a firefighter at other clubs before and helped clubs previously, but it just didn't get going at all. What do you make of the whole scenario?
I don't actually blame Tudor too much because Tottenham got what they wanted, really, which was a guy who, I say wanted, they got a guy who delivered what it looked like he would deliver. If I look at the broader picture, if you look at guys who have come in and saved clubs from relegation, they've had a body of work that suggested that they could do that. And his body of work consisted of a half-decent bounce at the previous clubs he'd been at. Now, a club the size of Tottenham, that's not enough. You need to be looking. And it's part of the reason, I know we're going to get to Deserby, but I tell you what, I'm going to save that for a second.
Okay.
Because I've got issues on him. I think the problem with Tudor is, from an experienced journalist point of view, you saw him in press conferences and he would say stuff that you knew would be instantly on the back page the following day. I know if I'm in that room and he says that particular sentence, that's a splash, what we call the back page. And he just couldn't stop doing it, first of all. And the second of all, what's very clear to everybody is that that Tottenham dressing room is toxic. There are players in there who have had half-decent start and think that they're better than they are. The captain, Romero, should not be the captain. He's a liability, being sent off 4 times. Your captain is supposed to be the most dependable member of your squad. And he is on a different planet to Harry Kane, when Harry Kane led that team with distinction with his performances. There are some horrendously average players in the squad. Danny and I talked about them last week. And even the good players have been dragged down by the average ones as well. So where they are now is a combination of poor recruitment, poor leadership, and unwillingness to break the wage bill. And it's very easy to say if Daniel Levy was there, it wouldn't have been the case. But the rot started with Daniel Levy, because if Daniel was there, when I remember covering Tottenham in 2018, when they moved into the new stadium, 17-18, and Pochettino gathered a small group of us and he said, listen, this is all wonderful, great training ground, great stadium. If we don't spend the money to be on a par with the other clubs, to be worthy of this stadium, more will come, because I can't keep performing miracles here. And clearly the club felt that he could, he left, and they've gone into a tailspin ever since.
Well, I mean, the alarm bells, like you say, have been there ever since Pochettino left, because even Mourinho came in and flagged up issues. We all know what Antonio Conte would say in press conferences as well. Nuno comes in for a very short spell. Ange Postecoglou, wins a trophy, but doesn't do well in the Premier League.
But he, having won that trophy and got the club into the elite European competition, he deserved at least 10 games of the following season to see if then, because he knew the focus would be on him to build. And he has said since then, these are the players I wanted. The club weren't prepared to deliver them. And you cannot keep sacking managers at a football club and believe that you can stay in the top division. Because as you said, Danny, the key to it is consistency. It's building, it's going with the highs and the lows and understanding that everything isn't always going to be plain sailing.
And look, he's not the only one. Thomas Frank, likewise. There were players that he wanted. We obviously know what happened with the Morgan Gibbs-White scenario. There was the Eze situation. He wanted Norgard. He wanted Mbeumo. He didn't get any of those players. And so that's because they weren't back.
He still should have done better with the squad he had.
I'm not defending him in that sense.
No.
I'm just saying to flag up the point.
And even though to compete with the big boys, they haven't. Absolutely. All the things you said. But the money they have spent even though the recruitment has been questionable, some of them, they've still got a group of players that shouldn't be in a relegation battle. And that is a mix of players, leadership, management, bad coaches, but it's not. You wouldn't look at their squad at any point and think they'd ever be in a relegation battle, even though some of those signings have failed. They've still got enough quality.
I totally agree with you. But that goes back to my point about it being a toxic dressing room. There are players who feel they're too good for Tottenham. There are players who've done one or two things and are on.
But again, you're right. But like Romero's a great example of that. Who is a super player when he wants to be, but his attitude and his selfishness could have been nipped in the bud by Thomas Frank. He could have took the captaincy off him, dropped him for a bit, had him in and kicked him up the backside. Because he's got a World Cup, he's gonna have to toe the line.
I agree with you on that,
but he didn't.
But you're in a really good place. But you're in a really good place to kind of talk about what happens if someone that influential, you take the captaincy off him and you nip it in the bud. Because there was those scenes, weren't there? I can't remember which game it was, where players were walking off and ignoring Tuchel. So
Thomas Frank.
Sorry, forgive me, Tuchel. Yeah. Sorry, Thomas.
One Thomas to another.
Yeah, exactly. Where they were ignoring Frank. So you could see there that the rot had set in. And if you take the captaincy off, but at the point
So I'll give you a really quick example.
Let's save it till after the break, because I'm being told in my ear, break. We'll save it. Don't forget it, though.
No,
if it was me, I would be forgetting it.
I won't
But anyway, okay. We'll talk more about Tottenham. We'll talk about Deserby in pole position to come in to take over as well, and get the thoughts of Darren and Danny on that as well. You're tuning in to Kick Off on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over, gambleaware.org.
Do you trust the Spurs ownership to get this next appointment right?
Do I trust the Spurs ownership? I don't know. Do I rate the Spurs ownership?
Well, you said you're not sure that you know what they're doing.
It's not for me to trust them because I don't care about their judgment. But do I rate their judgment? Well, not at this moment in time, because the body of work that they've produced is poor. They weren't responsible for the appointment of Thomas Frank, so it's an irrelevance, that question, because Daniel Levy made that appointment. The fact that he fired him, the fact that was an inevitability and forecast by me 2 or 3 months earlier isn't a surprise. The fact that they've in my mind, they've got two people that are number twos in business, running the business and making decisions with outside influences that sit on their board that don't have any football knowledge, in my view, making decisions, has brought out outcomes that would make anybody go, well, I don't really rate their thinking. As far as Deserby is concerned, he's a decent manager. He comes with his own baggage, like most of them do. He did a decent job at Brighton. He was an ungrateful little wretch when he departed because he decided to have a broadside at the owner of the football club that spent enormous amounts of time giving him an opportunity and backing him. Just because you lost a game in Europe doesn't really entitle you to have a broadside at your ownership model. But that's what he does, and that's what you get. Now, for him, taking Tottenham Hotspur, I think there's all upside for him. This is a huge football club. Irrespective if it gets relegated or not, my balance of probabilities, it will bounce back again. And it'll be priced into people's thinking. If he takes the Tottenham job because of the size of that football club and the scale of it, then there will always be a dispensation if they were to be relegated, because it wouldn't be on his watch, really. He can't be responsible for less than 20% of the season, producing an outcome that ultimately has already been seeded in the previous 80%. He might get them close and close and go down and do what Benitez did, which is bring them back up again.
Welcome along to kick off here on talkSPORT. You're tuning in to Danny Murphy, Darren Lewis, and me, Natalie Sawyer, as we take you through until the Sports Bar at 10. We will continue to discuss the latest situation surrounding Tottenham, where it looks as though Roberto Deserby, the former Brighton boss, is going to be coming in to replace Igor Tudor certainly not until the end of the season. It seems as though he will be a long-term replacement, if you believe all the reports. We will continue that discussion in just a moment, because right now it's time to bring an odds update with Ladbrokes.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Good evening, Alex Patty. How are you doing?
I'm good, yeah. How are we all?
Yeah, really, really well. Thank you. I think we're all looking forward to this international break coming to a close. That being said, there are 4 World Cup playoff finals to be contested tomorrow. So what can you tell us about those games?
All playoff finals just doesn't sound right, does it? Yeah, if all of the favourites progress, then it'll be Italy, Denmark, Turkey and Sweden. So for all of those to qualify by any means, so penalty shootouts included, etc., that's just shy of 3-1. Of course, 2 of them needed penalties last week. You would suspect it won't be as simple as just the 4 favourites winning, though. And the most likely of the outsiders currently is Poland. They're around 3-1 to beat Sweden. They're 11-8 to qualify by any means themselves. I don't think Bosnia are particularly going to be pushovers. They're 5-1 to beat Italy at home. Italy's record, World Cup record, I mean, is non-existent since 2014, isn't it? So much at stake. You wouldn't be surprised to see Bosnia maybe sneaking past that one. But the best value for me, Denmark just winning their game. I think they're 10-11 to beat the Czech Republic. And Denmark, or every major tournament, they're every tipster's dark horses. So what on earth will they do if they don't make it? Yeah, around evens for Denmark to win that game in 90 minutes. Czech Republic obviously made hard work, snuck past Ireland. Denmark made light work of North Macedonia. So that would be the bet for me tomorrow night.
Okay. Also, of course, playing tomorrow night, it is England against Japan at Wembley, which is live on talkSPORT. After what we saw on Friday with that Uruguay game, which wasn't the most exciting, has that changed anything when it comes to the World Cup odds and how you're seeing England's chances?
No, it hasn't. That game itself hasn't changed anything. No. I mean, it's always the head scratcher. England are second favourites. They're 6-1. I just find a bit strange I don't think that a team where there are a handful of positions in that starting 11 that are arguably still up for grabs, and we're second favourites to win the World Cup. Those 2 things shouldn't really go hand in hand, but that is the case. 2022's finalists, France and Argentina, were ahead of both of those. Spain are 4-1 favourites. I think Spain were 9-1 to win the World Cup before the Euros. They've got Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia and Uruguay in their group. So I suspect your Lamine Yamals and Ferran Torres will be well backed for the Golden Boot. I mentioned France, they're 13-2, won it 2018, finalists 2022. Argentina and Brazil could be decent shouts at 8-1. You've got Portugal 11s, Germany 12s, and the dark horses Denmark 80-1 as things stand. And got to mention the only other home nation side in there as well, Scotland 150-1 to win the World Cup.
Okay. Just sticking with the England theme, if you don't mind, just for now. Obviously, we've seen Tuchel experiment with this 35-man squad, albeit it's now been trimmed down a little bit. Have you got any sort of odds on who will make that final 26-man squad?
Yeah, it's a funny old market because you've got so many nailed-on names who, provided injury. Harry Kane, Jordan Pickford, Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, all around 1-50, 1-33, plenty around 1-10 even. But in terms of changes over the last few days, Ben White has got to be the biggest mover. 10 or so days ago, he was 10-1 to make the squad. He's now 6-4. He's more likely than Dominic Solanke, Luke Shaw, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Trent Alexander-Arnold. So he has every chance. And suppose for him, the question is how involved will he be for Arsenal between now and the end of the season? Elsewhere, Jed Spence has shortened from 11 to 8 to evens. Harry Maguire looking increasingly likely too. He's now 1-2 to make the squad. I'll leave you with this, but I still think you could make a case for a Danny Welbeck at 8-1. He's top English scorer in the Premier League, and it's already his best scoring season. And I honestly, behind Harry Kane, I don't think there is that much in it between him, Ollie Watkins, Dominic Solanke, Calvert-Lewin. I won't be surprised if there is one, rogue inclusion in there from Thomas Tuchel. And Get him on the plane with his mate Jason Steele. That's what I say.
Oh, a little Brighton loving. Why not? I'm sure we'll talk about England a little bit later on. But for now, Alex, thank you. Great to have you on with us. That's Alex Apathy from Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over, gambleaware.org.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Okay, let's continue talking domestic matters and the Tottenham situation. And we've obviously been talking about Igor Tudor clearly not being the right appointment for Tottenham, hence why they have decided to relieve him of his duties. And now it seems Roberto Deserby is the man coming in to replace him. Before we get to that, we were talking about the attitude of players, Danny.
Yeah, I thought Thomas Frank missed a trick in stamping his authority earlier with Romero and some of the other situations we talked about. I remember when Houllier got the job at Liverpool on his own, because he did it jointly with Roy Evans at first. The first thing he did was got rid of Paul Ince, who was our captain and a legend and a leader. And the reason is because he felt that he wasn't on the same page. Now, Ince would tell you, I love Ince, by the way. I'm not criticising Ince. He was brilliant with me. But he just felt that wasn't the right example. That wasn't the guy he wanted to lead his team. He made it was a big one. It come out of the blue. Nobody expected it because he'd only been there a year.
So forgive me, just to remind, and those that might not know, so he got rid of him as captain, but also moved him on?
Yep.
Right,
Gone.
Right,
Done.
Okay, can't remember.
And everyone was like, whoa. And not just that, the discipline went from reasonable to prison-like. Stringent, timekeeping, fines, late on match day, won't play. The dress code in terms of no mistakes, that'd be fine. It'd have to be the right colour T-shirt, the right out, headphones gone when you're going on the coach. No mobiles in the training ground, left in the car.
And how did you all feel about that?
Well, you can imagine the more English group or British group and lads who've been there a while were a little bit taken aback and calling him everything under the sun. But because he quickly got in a group of players like Hippier and Hencho and that type who set the example, and maybe it was a little bit late when he brought them match, I can't remember the exact time, but he'd already started bringing in a few players who he knew were the type of attitude and the type of players that us younger ones, me, Michael, Carra, Stevie, Davy Thompson, all needed to look up to and be around. So it was quite a drastic change. But the discipline part of it was one of the main reasons for our success. Because there was a respect there and a knowledge in that if you weren't on board, you're done. Like little Davy Thompson, I don't know if you remember Tom, he was a terrific player and was competing with me actually for some positions and got picked ahead of me in the earlier day. Super talent. Ended up at Coventry. He only left Liverpool, not because of his talent, because he got sent off a couple of times and then got told to go and train with the youngsters for a while, came back, played in a reserve game, got sent off again. And then Houllier came in the dressing room, had a pop at him. I think they had another, he couldn't help but argue back Tomo and lose his head. And Houllier just spun.
Yeah.
Done, gone.
Yeah.
And for us young lads, it was like, oh my God, he can do that to any of us.
It's a wake-up call, isn't it?
And Thomas, I think at the top level now, that principle still maintain, or that example from a manager still needs to be, I'm not saying be a tyrant, because there's also the other side of Houllier, which is the softer, more nurturing type, which he was with me. You've got to have a bit of both. But I felt, and I've been around Thomas Frank, we all think highly of him. He's a very likeable man. But as he got that, he didn't show it.
No.
Romero, the second time he said it, was like, nah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, and I kind of felt that for a while. We all respect, and we've talked about Thomas here on the show, but I just got the impression that he was trying to prove himself, making the step up to a bigger club than Brentford. The rhetoric in press conferences that fans didn't like, we're Tottenham, why are you talking this way? And the way he sometimes set his teams up to contain rather than to go and destroy. And you do get this feeling, or basically leading up to those pictures on the pitch of the players disrespecting him, that he'd not imposed himself more quickly.
It just means players sometimes, when you give, not all players by the way, but only needs a few. You give them an inch to take a yard. And that means when the tactical information's coming on or you're being asked to do a job, you can just drop your levels because there's no repercussion. And I think too many, like you said earlier, the Tottenham players, I wouldn't say they don't care, because I think all players care, but they've fallen into, like, when you watch them, it's like a comfort zone. Under Thomas Frank, some games they play well for half an hour. So many times I watch Tottenham, they'd have an awful first half, great second half, or vice versa. Yeah. And that's just a lack of discipline in the players, because it's not ability when you see them come out. I was at 2 or 3 games where they were awful, and then all of a sudden you get this reaction. It's like, where was that?
Yeah.
And that's all set from the manager.
See, I've covered Tottenham teams when I was working on sport for the Mirror since 2021. Sorry, the year 2001, I should say. And this is easily the worst. Exactly. This has to be the worst Tottenham team, and there have been some bad ones. But in terms of attitude, in terms of the lack of authority in goal, the lack of bite in the wide areas, I know that 1 or 2 players are injured. The lack of leaders is the reason why I am seriously worried about them. Wolves have got leaders despite their perilous position. West Ham have got leaders and they've fought their way back from what looked like a fatal position. Tottenham don't have those leaders.
Well, what we'll discuss then after the break is whether or not Roberto Deserby then can save them from the position that they find themselves in, which is just a point clear of the relegation zone. This is Kick-Off this Monday evening on talkSPORT.
Friday night, England drew 1-1 with Uruguay. Ben White making his first appearance for his country since he walked out at the Qatar 2022 World Cup camp due to a reported falling out with the then assistant Steve Holland. So, Ben White on Friday night, Martin, a bit of an eventful night for Ben, to put it mildly. He gets booed when he put the ball in the back of the net, and he gave away the penalty in the 94th minute to see the game finish 1-1. And he was booed as he came off. Jonathan Norcroft in the Times, it's an angry world and modern football crowds exhibit it. But booing a player after scoring for your country is still difficult to comprehend. Supporters do need to hear Ben White express some sort of regret. White is shy, but it's not too much to ask him to talk. We didn't hear from Ben, but we heard from Tuchel on the boos.
Disappointed if our players are booed. I understood that it happened before to players and they went through it and took it on the chin. Still, I don't like it. Still, I'm disappointed. I will always protect my players. He did so well in training and he almost he scored for us, so it could have been a perfect comeback. But it was mixed reactions. It was not only boos, some cheered, so let's hope we put this behind us.
Martin, Jonathan Norcroft in the Times were saying that maybe if he's going to continue his international career, Ben White,
When you think about famous F1 circuits, the likes of Silverstone, Monza, Monaco come to mind. One of these is not like the others though. Monaco is just one of a number of street circuits on the calendar, and that number's only set to rise. There's a clear difference between a traditional circuit and a street circuit. One is a purpose-built facility on private land, the other is, as it sounds, a race through the streets of a major city. Monaco's the famous example, twisting and turning through the streets of the Principality with iconic backgrounds and, let's be honest, not a lot of overtaking. But from 2026, there'll be a record 10 street circuits on the calendar. It proves that cash remains king. Each track promoter gives F1 between $20 and $60 million just for the rights to host an F1 race. And when Saudi Arabia pays upwards of $100 million, you can see why it's an attractive prospect for the sport. But is it all positive? Well, the drivers aren't that bothered. If you ask a majority of them, they'll tell you historic circuits at Silverstone, Spa, Monza, Zandvoort, they're the favourites. For the sports organisers, though, it kind of makes sense. In 2025, Monaco had a record 2.3 million strong viewership in the US alone. Meanwhile, for the British Grand Prix several weeks later, 1.5 million tuned in. So while these races may not be rip-roaring, all-out action, thrill rides we want as race fans, people are tuning in even more, and bosses can demand even more cash.
Good evening. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT. Thank you very much for joining us. And you're tuning in to Darren Lewis, Danny Murphy and me, Natalie Sawyer, as we take you through until 10 o'clock this evening. We're very much concentrating on Tottenham matters because the big news is that it looks as though Roberto Deserby is the man to come in to replace Igor Tudor, but not just to replace him until the end of the season. It looks like this should be a long-term appointment. We understand here at talkSPORT that he is now close to an agreement after having breakthrough talks. A 5-year contract also is what is on offer for him. Supposedly, Deserby had told Spurs last week he wanted to wait until the summer, but a lucrative long-term deal has made him open to taking the job now, and it is some job as well, with just 7 games to save them from the relegation plight that they find themselves in. As we have already mentioned, they're just a point clear of West Ham, who are in that final relegation spot. And let's not forget, Tottenham's form in 2026 in particular has been woeful. Yet to win a league game, only took 1 point under Igor Tudor, and have only won, I think, 2 games all season at home in the league as well. The worst home record of any side in the Premier League. So it's a big old job for Deserby. And I'm going to come straight to you, Darren, because I know you wanted to have your say on this appointment, because I don't think you're that in favour of it, it feels.
Well, I'm not. I mean, I don't think there is a single thing about Deserby's body of work that suggests that at this point in time, you give him a 5-year deal. I think he, to be fair to him, may well have played a blinder because they clearly wanted him to come now. He hasn't wanted to come now. He's wanted to wait until the end of the season. But of course, they don't know where they'll be at the end of the season. So he said, clearly, it would appear, I'll come if you give me 5 years. Now, there are a number of decisions that this new stewardship, shall we say, at Tottenham have made that have been poor. And this, to me, would appear to be another one of them. Does he have a record of setting his teams up to be incredibly hard to beat, which is what Tottenham will need to be? I wouldn't say so. Is he combustible? Yes, we've seen footage on social media of him having bust-ups with players. He's had bust-ups with ownerships. Tottenham needs somebody who's going to come in and make them hard to beat. Who's going to have put an arm around the shoulder of some players and be able to get them well drilled, well organised, and able to scrap out points. It's not going to be pretty, but it needs to be effective. I look at Deserby's body of work, and as some people have said, he plays decent football, but decent football is not what Tottenham need right now. Tottenham need to work hard. They need a leader with a clear message, as Danny's been saying. They need a leader with a consistency of tactics and team selection that gets the best out of the players, as Danny's been saying. And I just think the idea that you would bring in Deserby, listen, I've watched his sides, I've watched football for a long time. We all have, everyone listening, whether you're in the car, at home, wherever. I want somebody to tell me what one thing convinces you that Deserby will be a good fit for Spurs, because there's nothing about his body of work that suggests to me that he will.
Danny, what do you think?
It's a good argument. I mean, I liked watching his Brighton team a lot, and I thought top 7, getting them into Europe was a successful season. It's not necessarily the yardstick on what you'd use to then go and manage a so-called bigger club, a bit like Potter going from Brighton to Chelsea and failing. His first season in Marseille was good. They finished second. They played great football again. So we know his sides play good football. He demands it. I've been fortunate enough to watch him coach a couple of sessions down at Brighton, and I have to say it was impressive. He took the lot, and the session was intense and good and playing through the lines, and the players were at it, and he was on them, and it was bam, bam, bam. You know, it was like, whoa. It really felt like he had control of it, and they were working for him. I like the fact he's quite strong-minded and stands his ground and says his piece. That means he's got some strength. Some people could argue he's too contentious and causes problems everywhere he goes. But if we're one hand talking about the frailties of Thomas Frank and leadership and being strong, he's certainly the opposite of that, maybe to an extreme.
Can I ask you, would you say that he has more leeway at Brighton, because Brighton could lose 4-0 and no one bats an eyelid, and Marseille is a smaller club in relative terms than Tottenham?
I think at Brighton there's less pressure, yeah, for sure. Marseille is quite intense. They are quite demanding, those fans. But if you're talking about giving a manager a job, a wonderful club, big club like Tottenham, and you're going for someone tried and tested, well, they've done it. They've done Mourinho, they've done Conte. And also, even if they went down that road again, while they're fighting this relegation battle, I'm not sure who they're going to get. So trying to get someone in who ticks all the boxes, I think, is impossible. My initial instinct was to try and go for someone who the Tottenham fans would be on board with straight away, whether it be Sherwood, Glenn Hoddle, whether it be Harry Redknapp, someone who knows the club. But if you're looking at a long-term appointment, we know the Tottenham fans demand a certain style of play.
Yeah, but
so he'll give them that.
So to have this conversation out, right? Style of play now
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Correct, but he's not. It doesn't matter. Is he?
I think
if he goes in there and tries to get them playing like his Brighton team did, they could go down.
So we have no evidence that he can get a team in that position organised, whether it's 2 banks of 4, whether it's a 5-4-1, whether it's a 4-5-1, whatever. We've got no evidence that he could do that in the Premier League. I think the argument that, and I know you love a ding-dong, so you probably would relish this, but the argument that because he plays good stuff at Marseille and Brighton, that he's a good fit, I'm not sure that holds, because I think as far as their situation is concerned, we've talked about it last week and this week. Where's his leaders, first of all, right? Where's his experience of saving a club from the position that Tottenham find themselves in? Where's his experience of sending out the right messages in the media that convinces Tottenham fans? Because Tottenham fans are concerned about it. And then on top of all of that, you do have this split that's now emerged with Tottenham fans over the whole Mason Greenwood thing at Marseille, which is a subplot that this situation does not need. But because when you're in relegation trouble, we saw it with Everton, everyone's on the same page. We see it with West Ham, everyone's on the same page. You need everyone, fans, players, upstairs, downstairs, everyone has to be on the same page.
The problem Tottenham hierarchy had when they were making a decision, if they go for a short-term manager who they know has kind of done an Allardyce type,
yes,
then that's a short-term fix, because the fans don't want to see their team play that way, although I'm sure they wouldn't care for the next 5-6 weeks. If you're looking more long-term and the future of the club, it makes sense to bring in a manager that's going to try and get the team playing decent football with a bit about them and some high energy and really try and get the fans on board, right? That makes sense to me. You don't really have a standout candidate in either category, really. So if you want this wonderful football style or high energy, good football playing out from the back, there's no one out there you think he's going to guarantee us that and keep us up. And you know, if you bring someone in to fight this relegation battle and play pragmatically, there's probably not much chance of them being in the job long term. So I think they've gone, look, we think he's a good fit long term, and we'll trust him in this 6-7 week period, wherever it is, to keep us up by hook or by crook. Now, Deserby's played the game as well as managed. He's not daft. I'd be amazed if you see Tottenham go up to Sunderland, start trying to play through a Sunderland press in the first 20 minutes. If he does, then I'll be gobsmacked. He's not that silly, especially with the players he hasn't got available to him. So I think he will be sensible enough in the next few weeks to play that way. Tottenham fans have always demanded, throughout all these managers we've talked about, the good and bad, they've always demanded a team trying to play good football and win games. He does that, right?
Well, I have to admit,
the question I would ask,
I've spoken to said
they don't fancy him.
Which is partly that, and partly that the football right now doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't for the next 5-6 weeks.
Matter. The football doesn't matter.
Well, the question I'd ask is, any Tottenham fan, call us up and tell us. I mean, who is out there that's that good? There's no guarantee, but someone more guaranteed than him, who's going to come to a team that could possibly be in the Championship in 6 weeks.
You made a really interesting point when you said that they've gone through the tried and trusted route, right? Thomas Frank was not tried and trusted at Tottenham, at a club the size of Tottenham. Igor Tudor wasn't tried and trusted at any Premier League club. So this season, they haven't gone through the tried and the trusted.
Yeah, that's fair.
This season, they needed something that gave them a bit of certainty, provides a bit of know-how and nous and knowledge, and knows about what the anxieties of being in a relegation fight. I have to say, even though
I agree with that, I would go that way.
Forest, I would have still taken Dyche. I would have taken Dyche.
100%. If you're asking me, yeah. If you just said to me now for the next 7 games, would you have Dyche or Deserby? I'd say yeah.
And generally, like to your point earlier, Nat, I'm against people saying, a manager from outside the Premier League, what does he know about this league? But it's not really about that. It's what is it about his body of work? That's the thing, the body of work, because you being a player, right? So you're in a position, a very unique position to be able to say what the perception of those players in the dressing room would be if someone like a Dyche came in who knows the job, who knows the league, who knows the opponents, and a Deserby.
And you wonder if a Deserby at Brighton going into the Tottenham job would get the respect. When talking about Thomas Frank not getting the respect necessarily for those Tottenham players, would he get this if he'd gone straight from Brighton?
Well, let me just go on.
We'll have to take a break, and we'll talk about it after the break, because that is the bigger issue in all of this as well. It goes back to the players' responsibility and the attitude and everything else that goes with it. But as you have rightly asked, Tottenham fans, if you're listening and you want to have your say, what makes you convinced that maybe Deserby is the right man to save you this season, or perhaps you are more inclined to say he isn't your first choice? Do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. 03717 223344. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT.
Is Itauma the sort of fighter, Dave, that the likes of Fury, the likes of AJ, that they're in the mid-30s now, they're trying to avoid, and maybe more like a Fabio Wardley and Dubois would be one of the fights that you'll have next?
Yeah, Joshua and Fury won't go near him. He's too young, too fresh, too fast. Their best days have gone. So Itauma, realistically, he's looking at Dubois, Wardley winner. I don't think the Wardley winner. I think if Wardley wins, I don't think he'll box him because they're in the same gym. Dubois may. But Caballel, Itauma's going to have to fight one of them guys. He's not going to get one of the old guard that's on the way out. He's going to have to box one of the real, main men, which is Caballel. So it's interesting. And then he's going to be around for another 15 years, hopefully. So there's going to be people we're not even heard of yet that are going to come and have a go at him.
Is that the danger with heavyweights like him, to be so strong and powerful but quick as well?
Yeah, it's the speed. All heavyweights can punch. For me personally, I've never been put over in a fight, never been down and out. That's because I can see him coming. The fear, the danger of the time is you don't really see him coming. He's that fast. You know, he throws a lovely right hook off the back of a left hand to the body, and no one sees it coming. That's what Franklin does well. Franklin doesn't get hit properly. That's why he's never been over. All his great chin talk.
Off on talkSPORT. Thank you very much for joining us this Monday evening, and you are tuning in to Darren Lewis, Danny Murphy and Natalie Sawyer. It is time for us to look at our magic moments of the weekend, all thanks to Ladisfaction from Ladbrokes.
Magic moments of the weekend on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Ever dreamt of playing at Anfield? Place a £5 bet builder at selected odds on the Ladbrokes app and you just might. 25 plus, terms and conditions apply. Gambleaware.org.
So this is a chance for us to pick our highlights from over the last few days. Danny, you got something for us?
I have. It's golf. But you'll understand why if you haven't seen the story already.
Go on.
So Gary Woodland, who's an awesome golfer, he had brain tumour, brain surgery in 2023. And he only spoke about it for the first time a month or two ago, because he also has severe PTSD after it. So he spoke out about it, and up until that point, since he's come back, he's been struggling. Hardly made a cut, finishing low in the tournaments. And the tournament after he spoke about it and let it out, he finished 14th, played really well. And this is the next one, and he went and won it. And it was a high-quality field, it was a PGA Tour event, Houston Open, a lot of the best players there. And he was outstanding. And I think when you watch something like that, it hits you harder because the emotion that came out of him, he couldn't contain it, obviously, and his wife came on and he spoke really well after as well about people who were going through anything just to keep fighting and stuff. And he obviously had a good team around him, good people around him. But whether it's whatever sport it is, I think if you go through real difficulty, and we've seen it in football as well, people go through struggles while they're playing and they come through the other side. If you've got anything about you, you're warm towards it, don't you? So, 100%. Because everyone goes through something, even if you're not a famous golfer or football player. So people resonate with the story, and he'd been written off, to be honest. I think Golf Expert, people were talking about it. There was sympathy, but his golf was nowhere near what it was before, because he'd won previously. Well, his last win, I think, was 6 or 7 years ago, but he'd won tournaments before. He was really well thought of. Yeah. So to come back from it anyway and play is incredible. But so then to actually win, and now put himself into some great form coming into the big competitions and Masters and stuff. So, yeah, if I hadn't seen it, I don't think I'd be as enthused by it or as touched by it. Because when I was watching it, I was like, whoa, this guy, just a really, really good story.
I love stories like that. All the way back to, in horse racing, Bob Champion, Aldeniti, came back from, I think it was cancer, and won the Grand National. Oh, really? It's a fantastic story. And when somebody does that, it transcends sport.
Was that the 50s or 60s?
Oh, Daniel. My magic moment is... it's a weird one, actually. It's Thomas Tuchel raving about James Garner.
Oh,
and
nice.
Comparing him to Valverde, which is quite a compliment, because Valverde is a very, very good, strong, quick, versatile performer for Real Madrid. And to even mention Garner in that class, I mean, somebody as experienced as Tuchel knows what he's talking about when he does that, but it sees very much, it shows you very much, A, what he thinks of Garner, and B, it suggests that Garner can start to pack his bags for the USA in the summer.
Yeah, potentially so. We will talk more about England a little bit later on.
That's a bit far, bit of a stretch, but I thought Garner was the one who came out with the most credit in the game.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I agree with you. I mean, that it's quite the stretch, but it was just a moment of recognition for a guy who Pickford was talking about has played left back, right back, central midfield.
He's a really good player.
He's a really good player, and his attitude is spot on as well. And I like it when International Week is generally about the big names. The big names get the column entries. I've been in press conferences where the big names either come out and do the press conference, or the manager talks about the big names, and then the lesser known names, they get 5-6 paragraphs, maybe 10 if you're lucky in the papers, and they pretty much get overlooked. And we're talking about unsung heroes. Danny's mentioned one. Ghana, I think, will start as we get closer and closer to the World Cup to get a lot more attention. And I think his performances at the World Cup, let's not kid ourselves, they're not going to be in the class of Valverde, but they will start to get a lot more spotlight.
Okay. As I say, we'll talk more England a little bit later on. I am quickly just going to give a nod to Colin Kazim-Richards for winning his first game in charge of Crawley, having just been appointed.
I played with Colin.
First managerial job as well, and they hadn't won since January the 31st, and they beat Gillingham 2-0.
I'm amazed he's managing Colin.
Are you?
Yeah, he's a great lad, but I didn't see him as a manager.
I love that. Look, for me, I love the fact that he's managing. I'm going to squeeze another one. And Jermaine Defoe.
We will come to that. We will come to that.
Because,
I promise you.
Well, you know why.
We will talk about that one as well. I also want to just give a nod to my motherland, Bulgaria, winning the FIFA Series Indonesia. They scored 11 goals in 2 games. Yeah, they're back. I don't think so. But really what I wanted to say is just celebrate the career of Adam Jamili, who has retired today, the sprinter for Great Britain, of course, former European 200-metre champion. He is only one of 3 British male sprinters to run sub 10 seconds in the 100 metres and sub 20 in the 200 metres. So he has called time on his career today, which I just think is nice to give him a little nod.
And great that he's now working at Chelsea, isn't he? With the young lads.
He's been helping out a lot of clubs, and he was part of our talkSPORT Olympic team, I should say, so part of our SJA award-winning team. So it's nice to just mention him and wish him the best of luck in his new career. As you say, I think he certainly said that he wanted to help footballers try and...
No, he is. He's got a job
Yeah,
there,
he's been saying about how you can, even at whatever age that he's working with players, that you can add a little bit more speed to players, and that's what he wants to bring. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on with all of that. Those were our magic moments of the weekend that brought us Ladisfaction, all thanks to Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over, gambleware.org.
Magic moments of the weekend on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Place a £5 bet builder at selected odds and you could win a chance to play a match on Anfield's hallowed turf. 25 plus, terms and conditions apply. Gambleaware.org.
All right, lots more to come. We're going to talk about the international break, of course, that feels a bit tiresome this time around, certainly for a lot of nations. And we will talk about the fact there's been a number of withdrawals from the England team, but across the board, and a lot of international teams as well. And look ahead, of course, to what is going to go on with England when they face Japan tomorrow night, live on talkSPORT.
With Mo Salah leaving, a lot of commentators have talked about the fact there's a lack of icons in the Premier League. Obviously, last year we had De Bruyne leave. You've had, over the course of the last few years, you've had Ronaldo back fleetingly. You've had Ibrahimovic here fleetingly. But the big boys don't come to the Premier League, do they? I mean, Haaland is probably the only global icon that is still there. Would that be fair? I mean, Son's not there anymore. De Bruyne's not there anymore. Salah's going. Kane, Ronaldo, Zlatan, all gone. Mbappe, Vinicius, Bellingham, Messi, Neymar. They would rather play elsewhere. Why?
That's a very good question. I don't think there's as many superstars today as the kind of has been in the past. obviously Messi, Ronaldo were the two superstars, and no one could get anywhere near them. And that doesn't mean to say that others like Neymar and Luis Suarez weren't. What I would say is, I think Real Madrid's, whatever you say about Manchester United, even when they're at their pomp, that I think are the biggest club in the world, the most attractive club in the world. You could argue maybe even Madrid in terms of just living there as well, I think is incredible. Barcelona too. You think about that Barcelona team of Messi, Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, Puyol, just absolutely sensational. And you look at Real Madrid now, Vinny Jr., Mbappe, Bellingham. Who else have I missed? I think the general ones, they've always had the very, very top ones have probably gone to La Liga and Real Madrid. Whereas the Premier League, it's almost like the next section down, but deep.
talkSPORT understands Roberto Deserby is close to a 5-year agreement with Spurs following a breakthrough in talks. Our chief football correspondent is Alex Crook.
I'm told there's a very lucrative bonus on offer to Deserby if he comes in and keeps Spurs in the Premier League, and sources in Italy this morning suggesting a 5-year contract as well until 2030. It's a massive risk, isn't it, for both parties?
Deserby is expected to become the highest paid manager in Tottenham's history and the third highest paid in the league, but he'll take a significant pay cut if they go down. Simon Jordan believes Deserby won't be blamed should Spurs get relegated and can take inspiration from Rafa Benitez's time at Newcastle.
Bring them back up again in his own image, with a new set of thinking behind it, and a board that's going to be sat there going, we've made an absolute horlicks of this. This manager might need to be given all the things that previous managers haven't been given, which is a lot of latitude and a lot more control.
Elsewhere, Thomas Tuchel has, in his own words, set the narrative straight about the withdrawal of Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka from the England camp. It's after talkSPORT's Gambiak Bonlahor raised suspicions that Arteta was doing a Fergie by tactically pulling players out.
If it would have been maybe a last game of the season, we would have kept them and tried everything. But in this moment of the season, it did not make sense. They were both in discomfort, clearly in discomfort, when we did the medical assessment. So it made absolutely no sense that they stay.
Tuchel told us Saka played through pain in the League Cup final. Jude Bellingham is also not fit enough to face Japan, live on talkSPORT tomorrow night. Meanwhile, the England boss has also been asked, what's plan B if Harry Kane gets injured?
I have some ideas, but I will not make them public. I'm happy that Harry is in camp and back in camp, our skipper and captain and goal scorer, and he will lead the team tomorrow on the pitch.
And Celtic have paid a 5-figure sum to a victim of historical sexual abuse, settling a case a month after it started. The man, who cannot be named for legal reasons, claims he was attacked by Frank Kearney at Celtic Boys Club in 1989. Coach Kearney had previously been convicted of 9 charges of abusing young footballers in the
Good evening, this is talkSPORT, this is Kickoff, and we're into the second hour of the show. I'm Natalie Sawyer, and alongside me it is Danny Murphy and Darren Lewis. We've kind of gone through the whole Tottenham situation. We had a couple of messages I'm just going to read because I appreciate you sending them in. Zane, for example, says Spurs will go down, and not because of the managers, but because of the players. They don't have the fight in them, plain and simple. And then Martin goes with, who is a Spurs fan, Deserby is not the right appointment. This group of players are so fragile. They will crumble under the pressure, and if they do get up for it, they go too far and get sent off, and it's game over. Tudor faced that. So only a couple of messages that we've had in, but certainly not optimistic about Tottenham's chances. Very quickly, before we sort of get on to England and the international scene, do you think they will stay up?
No, I don't.
You think Darren thinks they'll go down, Danny?
I do. I think they'll stay up by the skin of their teeth. I wouldn't have said that if they didn't change the manager.
And I know there's a suggestion, obviously, that he's going to sign a 5-year deal, but do you think he will stay, Deserby, if they go into the Championship? Well, there's talk of a clause potentially in his contract.
It makes sense to me because if you think about it logically, whoever is in charge of Tottenham in the Championship is going to have the best squad by a mile. And if you get them playing anywhere near, you're going to go up. So it's an easy year for him, really. Win loads of games, enjoy their football, get out of the Championship, then it's just a year delay on starting the job.
Yes and no. This is very rare that you and I disagree, but
no, it's not.
I think you disagree quite a lot.
Well, I'm just trying to be nice.
Yeah, I know.
But I think if they go down, a lot of those players will want to go.
Yeah, they will.
Players that is part of the problem. A lot of those players think they're too good for Tottenham. They're not built for a fight. Going to places like Lincoln and Grimsby and those places, Millwall, places where you got to go and fight, work, graft, because they're not doing it now in the Premier League, which is where everybody wants to get to. The attitude of some of the players in the Tottenham squad is appalling. So the idea that they've got the best squad, it sounds good, but I don't think they will have that squad. I think lots of them who are internationals will want to leave, and they've got to rebuild that team if they go into the Champions League. So it would not be the same as, say, a Wolves, a Burnley, or whoever else. It would be catastrophic for Tottenham. I think they one of the original breakaway first division clubs that set up the Premier League. And I would say that they are the biggest side since West Ham with Cole, Carrick, Canuti, all those quality players that went down. Even they had to let a lot go. I can't see many of these Tottenham players staying if they go down and being willing to graft and roll their sleeves up and stay committed to the fight.
Well, hopefully that's brightened up your day, Tottenham fans. Yeah.
Don't worry, they know. They know.
They do.
They
I
tell
know.
me.
I know. This is true. And the other thing I'll say as well about Deserby, which I don't quite fully understand, if he's coming in and thinks he'll keep them up, does he really think he's going to have bundles of cash to spend? Because we've not seen that previously, and he didn't like that at Brighton when they weren't spending money.
Well, he'll have had a conversation, won't he, about that? That those needs would have been met.
But he would have had that at Brighton, and then the second season he started moaning about it.
Yeah, but I don't know the conversation he had at Brighton. Maybe he went through the door at Brighton without the reputation to be able to man that, and they didn't, because it was only when they had the success of being seventh and getting in Europe he started making demands, because he started elevating himself and thinking he was better.
Sure.
The reality is, walking into Tottenham, it's a massive club. You know that if you keep them up, you're in a good position to then say, right, what would you give me if I keep them up in terms of funding for the squad? The problem is, like anything, it's the exodus of players from Tottenham can't be measured yet, because I don't know all the different clauses and all that, but not all of them will have takers that are prepared to pay the wages they're on because they've played so poorly. Then you've got people like Maddison and Kulusevski, who are both Premier League players, but they've had big long-term injuries. They're going to have a year in the Championship, which is fine because they'll both eat it up. They'll be brilliant in the Championship. Solanke, who's going to take him on his way?
Dan, see, this is where I defer to you, because, I mean, you've been an international. You see the internationals in that side. You see some of the egos that are in that squad as well. I think, yes, they might not all have clauses, but they will be looking for a way out. They're looking for a way out of doing a day's work as it is in the Premier League. This is my point. And I think that some of them, they'll be onto their agents, and even if they don't have the clauses, they'll be saying, I'm not a Championship player.
I know, but the size of the squad means they can only get rid of so many at once. And some of those players who haven't performed well this season or have had long injuries, and loads of them have had long injuries, they won't have options. They'll have options if they want to take a pay cut. But they won't be able to go somewhere else and have the same money they're earning at Tottenham. Some of those lads like Maddison and Kulusevski. There's no way Maddison and Kulusevski have got relegation clauses. No chance. So they'll be earning top dollar, and they've been out nearly a season.
It's funny, because we say about that they haven't got leaders. Maddison's a leader, right? Maddison is someone who fronts up.
He is probably more so than anyone else.
Exactly. And so when I talk about attitudes, he's not one of them. He is a guy who, if he was fit, he'd have.
They wouldn't be in this position.
I don't think he would. He would have basically been a Jared Bowen type figure for them. But not being available is difficult for him. And we've all seen, and this is the other thing, we have all seen big clubs go into the Championship, and the instinctive feeling is they're the best team, they've got the best squad, they're going to go straight back up. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes reality bites. Players leave, managers leave, things don't go the way they should, and they have to spend more than a year in the
You
Championship.
just can't see it though with Tottenham, can you? I can't see
But
it.
I can't see them going. I couldn't see them going down.
They haven't gone down yet, have they?
The issue, I think, and you've all rightly said it already, and listeners and Tottenham fans will say it, it's the fact that we're not seeing a fight from the team. You're seeing it in West Ham now. Nuno's finally got this team working at West Ham. I know they lost, obviously, last time out at Aston Villa, but you're seeing a fight in Forest. You're not seeing it in Tottenham, and that's what gives you the fear that they could go down.
Who are they going to beat? Because if Spurs play Wolves, right, who have been shocking all season, Wolves have got fight. Wolves have got fighters. Who's got that fight in the Spurs team?
No, the narrative where a team doesn't have fight is misguided. So there's fight. I've seen them have the second half of Liverpool, there was fight.
Yeah.
The fight comes from a couple of things. One is good coaching and management, getting the best out of players to run for you and do their jobs. The coaching is key, the tactical element, that everybody's on board with the shape, everybody's on board with their job. And then you, as a manager, you give that group the freedom and the confidence to play. Now, Tottenham's moments of good in the last couple of months have generally come when they're losing games and the kind of shackles come off, which that's a natural thing players have always done. So I don't think that the Tottenham players are less fit than the opposition. I don't think they're incapable of fighting and running around, but you have to do it with some structure and discipline. They're playing against teams who are set up. The Forest game is a great example of a side. I bet the running stats would be equal, but Forest was so much more organised and disciplined.
But even your description, your analysis of this, right? Who's the player in that team now who's got that clarity of message? Who, if they came into a press conference, they'd convince me they've got a leader in that squad or that team.
Well, the player doesn't have to give the clarity of message. The coach does. So when Deserby comes in, he's got to be crystal clear and really concise about the message and what he wants. And he's got to quickly work out which players are capable of that.
Now, here's my problem. Deserby's proving himself in a situation like this with a club this size in the Premier League. He's proving himself. So, and this is my concern around Deserby, because when you are in a situation, yes, managers from outside the Premier League who have never managed in the Premier League have come in and saved club. When Pochettino came, I'm fairly certain he came in the autumn. I don't remember a foreign coach coming in at this stage of the season and being able to save a club. And what you need at a point like this, for my money, is certainty. Someone who's done it before, so says, do this because I know, I've been in this situation before with this club, that club. So it gives the players faith. It gives the fans faith. It gives people the idea that, yes, he's got that leadership. Yes, he's got that experience. And yes, he is able to improve this player, that player, that player. And
the big problem with Tottenham at the minute is they don't have too many game changers, match winners. So when you look at who they've got missing, so if you threw Kulusevski in there on the right and Maddison as a 10 now, all of a sudden they go away to Sunderland or away to Wolves and you think they could score.
They could score.
Yeah. Who's going to feed Solanke? Who's going to feed Richarlison or Muani? Maddison can feed. They haven't got a feeder. They haven't got a playmaker.
No, I agree.
And their midfield is generally filled with athletes and ball winners. Now, if you know that walking through the door, and I'm sure Deserby does, then you've got to find a way of, whether it's lots of crosses, working on your set plays, whatever, you've got to find a way of scoring goals because they don't look like they can open teams.
Can I just say one quick thing before you move on, right? You mentioned about fight, right? Wolves looked, before Rob Edwards came in, and even for a couple of games since he came in, as though they were devoid.
Dead and buried,
Exactly. And but just in terms of when you looked at the players and their body language and their attitude, they looked as though that was it.
Which proves my point.
But my point right now is that they would nowhere near have been able to have the fortitude, the commitment to what their jobs were against Liverpool, against Arsenal, to get those results if they did not have fight. And you look at them in those games, and I've said here on the show before, even when they were, they looked adrift, and I said, I see something in them. Yeah, and you guys gave me a bit of stick.
But Wolves in the first half of the season didn't look like they had any fight.
Exactly. This is my point.
But it's the same group of players.
Yes, but a manager comes in, and the manager gives you faith that he could do that. I don't see that in Deserby. I do see it in Nuno, because obviously he's been...
West Ham under Nuno initially looked...
that's
they changed the players. They brought different players in. And that personnel has had an impact on West Ham.
Yeah.
This is what I mean when I say fight. I want to be specific about it, because I'm not just talking about this vague commodity that, that they don't roll their sleeves up or shout a lot. I'm talking about a whole game commitment to what they're trying to do. We see it from Wolves against Arsenal. We see it from Wolves against Liverpool. We see it from West Ham, from a number of teams since they've managed to change the personnel. I don't see it from Tottenham.
I've even seen it from Leeds, who you can't discount from this as well. Just to quickly say, Martin Rayfield's been in touch, kind of echoing what you were alluding to there, Danny. Tottenham lack match winners. We used to have Son, Kane, Bale, Maddison, Kulusevski, for example. Who gets us a goal out of nothing to win a game? And that is the fear that Martin is suggesting for this Tottenham side. Right. I think we've got to park Tottenham, because we're not talk Spurs, we're very much talk sport. So we'll do that next. We'll talk about England and the international scene as well in just a few minutes here on Kick-Off.
Derek Chisora's retiring after this weekend, so maybe Del Boy can come in and do a better job than all these other guys.
Maybe.
I've also spoken to him. He's going to come in and walk up and down Simon's back this morning to try and sort that out.
Jason Schiffman, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Simon. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. Well, I wish you back better anyway.
Thank you, mate.
My view is that I think that we need to bring a manager in that's going to sign a contract so the players believe that manager is going to be there next season. I don't think it's a great look when you sign these managers up and they're only signed temporarily, because then all of a sudden the players don't seem to have the same respect for that manager, because they're thinking, well, he's not going to be here in a few weeks. Do I think that this guy can come in and do a job? I certainly hope so. I think the fans are behind the players at the moment. I think I saw an amazing atmosphere, even though we lost 3-0. And I just think this is still the team that got 4 points out of City this season. So the players in that squad that are capable of winning games, but we do need a manager that's capable of getting the best out of them.
Yeah, I mean you're on your final chance, are you not, Jason? It's critical now.
Listen, it's almost not in our hands, because if West Ham get that win, then all of a sudden we're in this position where we're looking.
Jason, just
around us.
Just a quick one here. So there's an element of concern about.
You're listening to Kick Off on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over, gambleware.org. And Danny Murphy, Darren Lewis and Natalie Sawyer are with you right now until 10 o'clock. We're going to talk about the international break that we are in, the final one before the season ends. And then, of course, there will be a couple of friendlies for England and no doubt World Cup teams to have before they then participate in this summer's finals. But England have had 8 players withdraw from the squad over this break. Before we get to the thoughts of Darren and Danny on everything, let's hear from Thomas Tuchel himself, who's been speaking about the club versus country debate and players returning back to their teams.
First time I really understood it was when my big group of South American players left in Paris for their national team. And it didn't matter if it was Copa America, qualifying game or friendly game. The way they left, the excitement, the honor they felt was, then I understood. And it changed also my perception a little bit. I was never from the start of my career, I never got involved in telling players not to go, telling players to make up an injury or withdraw. No, we always encourage players to go. That is just the schedule that it is. It is an honor. We want to make it now on the other side of the pitch an honor to come. We want to make the camp so competitive and so good that players want to come, that they don't want to miss. I have this feeling clearly.
Okay, so that's what Thomas Tuchel had to say on this latest situation of 8 players leaving the camp. We should say that some of them are down to medical assessments that need to be done by their respective clubs. So that's Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, Noni Madueke, John Stones and Adam Wharton apparently picked up some knocks as well. And then Aaron Ramsdale, Fikayo Tomori and Dominic Calvert-Lewin were all released from England duty. So it means there's only 27 players now left in this 35-man original squad, preparing for tomorrow night's game against Japan. And it's interesting what Thomas Tuchel was saying there about he wants to have it in a way that players want to come to England and be a part of the England setup. I kind of felt that was in place when Gareth Southgate was there, that he had brought that mentality into the squad.
Gareth did that really well.
Did it really well? You didn't see withdrawals that often.
No, he did it really well. He made a really, club-like atmosphere for the lads. They enjoyed going. You could sense that and feel it. Yeah. And that is important because it wasn't quite like that in my day. The reality is that at this stage of the season, I haven't got the squads that Gareth chose at similar points of the season before a big tournament, but I would imagine there would have been a real management of game time and also a variation in personnel. It's just inevitable because the England managers are sensible because they're protecting the players themselves the best they can. They don't want them injured for the World Cup. Mm-hmm. And they know the Champions League quarterfinals are coming around the corner. They know the Premier League's coming to a head. They know the relegation fight's getting... So I think it's a mountain out of a molehill. I think it's probably, if someone did the numbers and looked at the statistics around squads at this time of year before big tournaments, we'll see more pullouts than any other time because of the importance of the games coming up. I think it's probably heightened as well because of the size of the squad and letting players go because he's got so many numbers. It's easier for him to say, you've got a knock, off you go. Whereas if he just picked a 25-man squad, then that would have been... 100%. I don't think we'd have seen the exodus that we have. I'm not too concerned about it. It doesn't sound like he is, really.
But then in some ways, and I know this is not going to happen, but does the scheduling have to change? Because if you're having this March window, like we're having, so close to an end of a season, essentially, does it not have to be a rethink?
No, I'm with Danny. I think that it's the same for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think Tuchel is already at this point where players do want to come. I remember at Euro 2020, I did Andros Townsend's column for the Daily Mirror, and he was talking about the difference between...
What, you mean he didn't write himself? I feel cheesy.
To be honest, I only spoke to him. He didn't write himself. And he was talking about the differences between the England camp before Gareth Southgate arrived and since Gareth Southgate arrived. And as you say, it was much more collegiate after Gareth arrived. There was much more togetherness, much more of a club atmosphere. There wasn't any cliques. There wasn't any divisions. It wasn't the case that people ate dinner and then went up to their rooms with their teammates from their own club. The atmosphere was a lot better. And I speak as someone who's, seen those periods, and we've seen ex-players talk about those periods where they didn't like players from other clubs during their careers with their top clubs. And it was only since hanging up their boots that they've been a lot more friendly. So the atmosphere's fine. I think in terms of the scheduling, to Danny's point, I think there are so many top clubs with so many important games ahead, and they do not want to lose players to a friendly against Japan. Set against that, I always think when things like that happen, you know, listen, there have been so many pullouts from Arsenal. I saw a report that Gunnosaurus is reported back to London Colney as well because he's something wrong with one of his paws. But I think it's an opportunity, these things. You know, let's have a look at players who might be on the fringes against Japan. Let's see what they can do, because we will be in a situation at the World Cup where all of our players, you know, somebody might have a knock, somebody might... And I think for years and years and years, I've always been fascinated, even before I was a journalist, by this idea that we only want to see the top players, the first team players. And we only ever want to see Harry Kane. You know, some games, I don't want to see Harry Kane. I know what Harry Kane can do. I want to see the other strikers in that position. Course, yeah. I know he wants to break records and whatnot, but how does that help England? You know, and he's a magnificent servant for England. But I want to see if Welbeck can do it, if Watkins can do it, if Dominic Calvert-Lewin can do it. In the other positions as well, I want to see the second string players. I know what the top players can do. We are going to see the top players in the first game. Let's see the B team against Japan. Some of those players might well make their way into the A team.
I mean, I think that's a fair point, but I suppose, listen, we saw that on Friday night against Uruguay, a completely different 11 that because predominantly the 11 that we would expect to start at the World Cup, if you believe this, from what Thomas Tuchel has suggested, weren't obviously involved. They were only brought back into the England fold on Friday, and most of them were at Wembley, of course, weren't they, to watch the game. But how can you judge a player in one game on 45 minutes? Like a Tomori, for example. How can you judge him on that one game? Or Calvert-Lewin? No, I realise.
We do. Let's not kid ourselves.
But
we are media. We do. We make judgments in every game.
But then it's players. Not fair if you're then releasing them without giving them a second opportunity, surely.
No, I think the idea with Tuchel, I mean, he watches lots of games. So he's someone like Garner. He is judging him how he copes in the England shirt at Wembley to a degree, but he's judging him more on the 4 or 5 games he's seen him in the last 2 months.
Yeah.
So he's bringing him. One of the things I think people don't quite get is that the friendlies, which are a bit lethargic at times, and there's not much zip to them, and the training sessions with all the lads together, high quality sessions generally, I remember. The managers are watching how you are around the group and how your level is up alongside the ones he already knows. So you're not just bringing in these players just to see them play in the friendly. You're seeing how they are.
Absolutely.
Around the camp.
All of that stuff. But you're right. There is an element of some of them aren't given. What's the point of bringing them in when you don't give them enough of a chance? Some of them won't play 90 minutes in the two. And then they kind of go home thinking, why was I even brought there?
100%. I was at a dinner once,
that's inevitable.
And I sat next to a top player, right, who basically had given up on England because he was getting called up and he was going to places and he wasn't getting picked. And then he was, you know, he was thinking, what is the point of me giving up all my time to go and make up the numbers? I get all excited when I see my name on Sky Sports News or wherever, or on talkSPORT, and then I get to the squad and I see the game and I'm on the bench, you know, and I might come on for the last 2 minutes or I might not come on at all. And I'm so sympathetic to that point of view.
It's tough. I mean, most of my England experiences were travelling around watching them. Because I was competing against such quality, I was never going to get a start.
Now, frustrate you then?
Yeah, but you find your place in the hierarchy and hope that. And I had a bit of luck. There was some injuries. I ended up getting a World Cup squad in 2002, and I was close till I started the last friendly, and then did my metatarsal. So that was but you just hope that something happens to get you in there, and it's how you deal with it in your head. You can become despondent. I mean, Carragher was a great example when the famous calling up Adrian Durham when he had him pop it. But Carragher had done years in that squad, years and years and years in tournaments of waiting for his chance. Now, he did play quite a few games in the end, you know, fitting him here, fitting him in there, there's injuries. And he never was somebody who you could question his attitude or application, brilliant trainer, turn up at every squad. And in the end, he's just gone, enough. You know, even Scholesy. That wasn't somebody, you know, they were trying to fit him on the left and then leaving him out. And he was like, hold on. So players are all at different levels with their England careers, and the key to any good successful is, we all know this, stating the obvious, but the balance in the squad has to be right, where you've got a group of players who are absolutely made up to be there, who are enjoying the experience, trying to improve and trying to impress. You'll have a core group who expect to play, and then there'll be a few on the periphery who think they should and maybe don't, and then you get a few little teething problems. But that's what a manager does in terms of, when they say a good traveller, a good squad player, they are important. You need a few of them. You need a Henderson, you need a Milner, that type, over the years. That you do need the balance right. Otherwise, if you go for all your best players and all the attitude and all the ego, you're just going to have... Do you remember the French side of years ago with all the brilliant players clashing?
And the Dutch players as well.
So it's just it's a jigsaw puzzle.
All I would say is that I think a big part of why we've not managed to get over the line in years gone by, and we see other nations do, is culture. Because if you look at Spain have a similar culture all the way through. De La Fuente used to coach the kids, and he's got the same ethos all the way through. And when you're with Spain, let's not kid ourselves, they play players on merit when it comes to the first team, but there's no such thing as unfashionable players. Whereas here, we love celebrity, and there's always an inquest when a big name player isn't playing. Oh my gosh, what's Tuchel doing? Oh my gosh, what's Southgate doing? But Tuchel is a winner, and what he is trying to do is not only get the combination right, but he's making sure that what we would regard as the B team see themselves very much as the A team, because everyone is going to have a part to play, and the culture has to be right. I covered the under-21s for a while, and I used to be quite struck by the fact that people see the under-21s as an afterthought, whereas the under-21s and the seniors, they should be interconnected. They should be because that's what it's like with nations that win things.
I think there's loads of things. The two things one generally is Germany. We were awful. That would have been a travesty if we'd won that. We were beaten by a side just so much better.
Yeah.
There's a lack of quality in the whole tournament.
Yeah.
Call it physical, call it mental.
2006 you're talking about, yeah?
No, talking about Germany just gone.
The Euros.
Oh, sorry, yes.
We were awful. We were woeful.
Yeah.
We got lucky. Now, the Euros in England, 2021, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was in-game management that cost us, because we were better than Italy.
Yeah.
So I think you can look at all different aspects. The reality is this squad is talented, but it is playing in a continent where we generally struggle because of the heat. And
do you think so? Because when we got players going over to America,
we're going to have to stop.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Listen, I'm on the clock here. I'm not going to say.
You're getting paid by the minute.
Yeah, something like that. But look, we will come back to England, I promise you. But you talk about talent. We're going to talk about talent in just a moment when it comes to boxing and Moses Itauma after that victory over Jermaine Franklin over the weekend. That's next.
Back on Thursday, Simon and Willie exchanged a fair bit of banter in the boxing hour on that day going into the fight.
I said, I think you're going to get beat, is what I said, Willie.
Is that what you said?
I did, yeah. I did. I'm happy to eat crow.
Simon, have you ever boxed a day in your life?
No, I haven't, no.
You should have no comment on boxing whatsoever. You should leave it to the boxers.
We will see.
Because you've never had a fight in your life.
We will see. And when you have an opinion on something in life that you've never done, we can have a conversation about that as well.
The only thing you can box, Simon, listen to me. The only thing you can box is box in Tesco's shop top and centre. Well, that's what you can box.
Willie, if you lose that fight, you'll probably be working in
You
there.
shouldn't give
right?
any... Hey, but I've got plenty.
Good.
I don't need to
well,
go
let's see
anywhere.
you win.
I don't do this for the money. I do
when-
it for peace.
Good, fantastic, good. So when we see on Monday, if you've
I
won,
do it
you'll
for
be able
peace,
to say all
Simon,
this.
peace.
But don't lose, Willie, now. Don't lose. Whatever you do, don't lose.
But Simon, if you've never boxed a day in your life, and you've never felt a punch in your face, you should have no comment to boxing.
I'm not allowed an
ever in your
opinion.
life.
I'm not allowed an
You should
opinion.
Forget about this.
I'm not
You're
allowed an
not allowed
opinion.
an opinion because you've never boxed.
Okay.
You don't know.
All right. Well, hopefully
You
my
should
opinion
keep-
will mean
you should
nothing.
keep to the
Willie,
football.
But if I'm wrong, if I'm right, Willie, you are going to eat some crow, buddy.
Well, he didn't need to eat anything because the scores were wide, 99, 91, 98, 92, 98, 92. So, Willie, you got out that shift at Tesco on Sunday. Well done. Good morning.
And now Moses Itauma bows to his crown, and that left uppercut, what a shot that was.
This is Kick-Off on talkSPORT, and you're in the company of Darren Lewis, Danny Murphy and me, Natalie, Sawyer. And yes, Moses Itauma just continues to wow in the ring. He became the first fighter to stop Jermaine Franklin at the weekend when he stopped him in the 5th round as he continues his surge towards a heavyweight title shot. Joining us to look back on that and also look ahead to what is to come this weekend live on talkSPORT as Derek Chisora takes on Deontay Wilder. It is, of course, talkSPORT's very own Spencer Oliver. How are you, Spencer?
Natalie, how are you doing?
Yes, really, really well, thank you. And I know I spoke to you, didn't I, at the weekend ahead of this fight, and we were very much looking forward to it. And it was just, well, just efficiency once more from Itauma.
It really was. I mean, look, it was a yardstick to see where Moses Itauma was in his career. Was he ready for that next step up? Because Jermaine Franklin was considered that step up. But then the fight before Dillian White, he was considered the step up. He blew away with Dillian. That was way back in August last year. Fast forward, he goes in against Jermaine Franklin, and what a job he done on Franklin. You know, Franklin's only 2 losses were to Anthony Joshua, you know, and that was on points, and then he had another loss on points as well. And you look against Dillian White, but many people felt he won that fight. And you look at his performance in there, and it was chilling. It really was. He went in there, you could hear the shots flooding in. Credit to Jermaine Franklin, how he got to round 5. I'm totally. He was taking some massive shots, and the finishing shot, as you guys would have probably seen, was this uppercut, and you saw him go, and Moses Itauma was so quick. He followed up with a right hook as well, and it was game over. I mean, chilling knockout, and he just established himself as one of the leading contenders in the heavyweight division. Can you believe it? 21 years of age.
But this is the thing. I remember when we spoke, as I said, we spoke before the fight, and I was saying, do you think it's too early for him to be having a shot at a heavyweight title? But in a way, you feel like that has to be the next step, really.
Natalie, that's exactly it. You know, I sort of spoke to Frank Warren afterwards. I spoke to him in the week, actually, and he said, look, listen, it all depends on how he goes with Jermaine Franklin, you know, how the victory is. If he wins on points, if he struggles for a few rounds, perhaps we need to let him breathe a little bit, you know, a few more warm-up fights. But how do you hold this kid back now? I think if you're good enough, you're old enough. And I think that's sort of the case, isn't it? We remember a young Mike Tyson winning a world title at 21 years of age, and he was going for everyone like a knife through hot butter. And there has been comparisons. I know people always say, listen, you can't compare him to a young Mike Tyson, but this kid is doing in this modern era what Mike Tyson was doing back in his era. So there is comparisons there. And it's not if Moses Itauma wins a world title, I think it's when. And Frank Warren says this year he'll get a world title shot.
Wow.
Isn't the only fight for him Usyk before he gets too old? Because Usyk's the best. All the others are just none of them can touch Usyk. He's done it. He's beat them all. Is that not just the obvious fight, Spence?
I'm with you, mate. You know, there's always a passing of a baton, isn't there? And like you say, Alexander Usyk's not just beating everyone once, he's beaten them twice. He's gone through all the top contenders, and that's what he does. He'll go down in legacy as one of the greatest to ever do it, for sure. But if he really wanted to cement that, you go, right, let's take on... He's talking about, you know, another 3 fights. He's talking about this Verhoeven, the kickboxer, that's on May the 23rd. Then he's talking about the winner of Dubois versus Wardley. Well, we've seen him beat Dubois twice already. And then he's been talking about finishing with Tyson Fury, and that would be Usyk finished and out. But you go, you can't ignore Moses Itauma now. And if you want to be like, you know, if you want that recognition, well, he's going to get it anyway. But I'm just saying, if you really want to cement it, you've got to take the hot shot that everyone's talking about in Moses Itauma. But risk versus reward, Danny, you played at the highest level in your game or whatever, and you look at where he's positioned now, Alexander Usyk.
Yeah.
You think, is it worth it? He's like 38 years of age now, coming to the end of his career. He's earned all the money. Now it's all about legacy. And yeah, you know, he's entitled to that fight against Verhoeven, you know, the kickboxer, because that's what he's chose to do. But you go, then you got to have a look at the next kid that's coming up. Moses Itauma was ranked by all the governing bodies, so he would be the one that everyone wants Usyk to fight. But if I'm in Usyk's shoes, I go, really? Do I need this young kid? Do I want to undo everything that I've built up over the last decade? So that's probably where we're at with it.
Money talks, mate, doesn't it? If someone pays him enough, surely.
I've just wasted my last 30 seconds explaining all that because you're totally...
Well, no, to be honest, mate, you know him, but you know better than us. But is he that type of guy? Because obviously we know Tyson Fury, AJ, they're businessmen as well. Usyk obviously earned a fortune. If a big sum comes, even with all he's done, could he be tempted, or are you thinking no chance?
Well, listen, I think that you're right in what you say. Money does talk, you know, and I think that, like, if he takes the kid that we all believe is going to dominate the heavyweight division, and you know, there's no reason to not believe this after the performance on Saturday night, Moses Itauma, you go, he's the next kid that's going to dominate. That is a fact, whether you like it or not. So if he takes on that young guy at this stage of his career, you go, then you have to respect it. If he beat Moses Itauma, I'd go, he'd have to go down. Listen, there's an argument with him and Muhammad Ali, who would be the greatest to ever do it. Ali, for obvious reasons, but take Ali out of the equation, he's going to go right. He's going to have to rank right up there. He'll rank up there anyway. Undisputed cruiserweight, undisputed heavyweight, beat Tyson Fury twice, beat Anthony Joshua twice, beat Daniel Dubois twice. So go, what more can a guy do? You look at the resume, it's insane. Moses Itauma is the only one really he can do, but I'm not sure the risk's there.
Spencer, I'm going to ask you for a bit of context because my son Noah, he's been raving about him since last year, right?
Yes.
And I was disagreeing with him last year and saying, you know, you give him a chance. He's just getting onto the scene. Noah made the package that we just listened to before.
Yeah.
And you've met him before, haven't you? And so...
I talk to Noah all the time about boxing.
And, well, so you're probably both in a position to school me. Am I getting...
Can you spare some time for Dad?
Exactly. I was here first. Can you just give me a... First of all, is this a lot on his shoulders? And second of all, does he have the potential to step outside of his sport? Because obviously if, you know, young people are really buying into his talent, his ability and his charisma, does he have that potential to step outside of the sport?
I think he actually does, because I think he's growing into this position, if I'm totally honest now. Like, you know, we knew him, he burst onto the scene. Look, he was sparring Lawrence Okoli and giving him nightmares when he was 15 years of age. That was the sort of level. This kid is like mature beyond his years, and he's sort of dealt with that, and some fighters feed off that pressure, and he sort of like kept himself out of the limelight, if you like, and let the fighting do the talking. But on Saturday night, I saw the people would turn out. There was 16,000 packed in there. He had a big audience behind him, because I think people are actually appreciating that we've got something very, very special on our hands. And sometimes we just got to sit back and embrace what we've got, you know, because we're a culture where we go, well, yeah, but I need to see him in with someone. I need to see him go rounds. Where you go, we're putting them guys in front of him and he's going through them. But I think Moses is growing in stature as well. And I think that was evident on Saturday night. So I've got to agree with Noah, by the way. Like a year ago, I was writing about this kid and I said, I'm going to put my neck on the line. I've been around a long time. I know your old man Darren's been around a long time as well. I said, he's been around longer than me. I'm like 100, he's 104. That's where we're at in this game.
Careful, Spencer, my lawyer's watching.
But Noah got it right. Noah got it right, Darren. That I spotted this kid and went, he's going to be special. And I think that what we saw on Saturday night just underlined that. And I think he's growing in stature. He was brilliant in the interview after. He's coming out of his shell a little bit. The personality's there. There is going to be a crossover for sure.
Yeah.
So that's all about the future. What about what's coming up this weekend and what could be maybe the final fling, if you like, for maybe both Derek Chisora and Deontay Wilder? What are you expecting this coming Saturday?
Well, do you know what? It's an intriguing one, Natalie. It really is. Like, Derek's in his 40s now, Deontay Wilder as well. And you just go, they've still got that pulling power because they're massive characters. They've been big characters over the last decade or so. You know, they're very charismatic and they bring eyeballs to the game. Yes, they're both past their best now, but it's still an intriguing fight because the winner... Listen, Derek Chisora said it's their 50th fight, both of these guys now. They're both saying that this could possibly be it after this one. How does the winner retire? I said to Derek Chisora, like, listen, Derek, I know you keep saying it's 50 and out, but if you beat Deontay Wilder, there's going to be a huge fight on the table for you. You know, it could be a Moses Itauma, it could be someone like that. Like, what I'm saying is, Derek is a big pull. So is Deontay Wilder. I think the winner will not retire, but the loser will have to retire. That's pretty much where we're at there. And I can't believe I'm saying this. Darren Lewis, I think you might agree with me, and even you, Danny. I think both of you guys might agree with me here. Could you believe, like, if we were talking about Derek Chisora beating Deontay Wilder 3 years ago,
no.
I would have probably not been used again. Pretty much where we're at. And now I think Derek goes in a favourite off the Deontay Wilder performances. You know, the losses to Zhang Zhang, the loss to Joe Parker. You just look at those and you go, he was a shell of his former self, been a great character, but a shell of his former self.
He hardly threw a punch, Spence, did he? Especially in the Parker fight. I mean, I don't know. You tell me. Can you come back when you get to that point where you look washed? Say washed. Maybe that's a bit harsh.
No, you're right. You look washed up. You look shot. You're totally right, Dan. And like, I'm with you, mate. When I saw him lose to Joseph Parker, I was like, wow, it's done. It's over. When he lost to Zhang Zhang and got knocked out the way that he did and didn't throw any punches, I went, it's definitely done. And I've told Deontay this as well. I said, look, you know, where you're at, you've got it all to prove. And he's very honest with himself and always said there was personal problems going on outside of his life and all that, which has now come to light. And we know that. But from what you've seen, you can only go by their past performances. And Deontay Wilder does look a shell of his former self. So on that note, and you look at Derek Chisora and, you know, his last performances, and you go, well, you know, Joe Joyce was a good win. Gerald Washington was a good win. You know, Otto Wallin, his last fight was a good win as well. And you go, Derek's the guy in form here. And Derek Chisora will start favourite against Deontay Wilder. I still can't believe I'm saying it, if I'm honest. But
when you told Deontay that, was it on the phone?
We was in Dubai. We was out in Dubai at a show, and I'd done an interview with him. I mean, I didn't go quite as hard as. Let's be totally honest here, guys. You know, look, there's a way about saying something. You go around houses, and when Deontay told me the reasons for those losses and said, "Yes, I've got it to prove," and people are entitled to think that. I then obviously said, well, yeah, I can see that, Deontay. I covered my back a little bit, but for you can only go by what you've seen. And talk is cheap, money builds houses. Can Deontay deliver? He said that he can. We'll have to wait and see. But that's the intrigue here because you sort of can't never really write a guy that can whack the way that he whacks that off, can you? He's like 44 victories, 43 KOs. You go, he only has to throw one, and Derek walks onto one, and then change in a split second. So great fight. I like both of them actually. Derek's like my dad trained Derek from when he was 16 years of age, so I've got a great relationship with both of them really.
Spencer, appreciate you being with us this evening.
Thank you.
We look forward to Saturday night then. 10 o'clock, you'll be able to tune in here on talkSPORT to Derek Chisora against Deontay Wilder. But as we were saying then, this Saturday, an icon will fall as two legendary heavyweights, Derek Chisora and Deontay Wilder, meet for a huge showdown in London. That is at the O2 even. You can buy the pay-per-view at DAZN.com or join DAZN Ultimate and get this fight included. Plus, Wardley versus Dubois, Benavidez versus Ramirez, there's Usyk against Rico, and much more as well to come at no extra cost.
Boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at DAZN.com/boxing.
And no doubt there is plenty of fallout still for that Moses Itauma fight, and also lots to look forward to for this weekend on our talkSPORT Boxing YouTube channel. Lots of boxing content you can find there, and you can find a dedicated YouTube show, Talk Boxing, with a new episode out each week. Okay, we will continue to talk about the international scene, in particular on England, later on in the show as we look ahead to the live game tomorrow on talkSPORT as England take on Japan.
Thomas Tuchel has a whole lot fewer Arsenal players than he might have imagined in the coming days, because 10 Arsenal players have now withdrawn not just from England duty but from international duty. Eze, Gabriel, Hincapié, Madueke, Rice, Saka, Saliba, Timber, Trossard, Zubimendi. 4 Arsenal players had originally pulled out of international duty at the start of last week, a day after the Carabao Cup final, a match that they lost to Manchester City. They were Gabriel with a knee injury, Saliba recurring pain in his left ankle, Trossard a hip injury, and Eze a calf problem. Now Zubimendi and Hincapié are the latest to withdraw. In fact, both Saka and Rice joined the England camp on Friday, but didn't feature in the draw with Uruguay on the same day, and now they've withdrawn. Sir Alex Ferguson used to remove players from international duty. In 2011, he described friendlies as a waste of time. Arsenal invincible Martin Keown is in our midst. Martin, are Arsenal being hit with a disastrous injury crisis, or is Arteta doing a Fergie?
Well, there's a lot of players that are injured going into this international. I hope that you're not making it as an inference that Arsenal are deliberately taking players out, because I think they're genuinely injured, Jim. So let's just go for each one. So Eze didn't make the cup final.
Do you think all of them are genuinely injured?
Odegaard didn't make the cup.
The talkSPORT 20k giveaway.
Yes, it's competition time, and we are offering a big prize, because we are giving one lucky listener the chance to win 20 grand, completely tax-free. £20,000. Don't miss your chance then to win this huge amount of money, and here is how you can enter. You might want to have a pen and paper handy. You can simply text the word WIN to 83338. That's 83338. Texting the word WIN. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or you can call this number 0343 418 7260. That's 0343 418 7260. Lines will close on the 9th of April, so that is in just over a week's time, and you will have to be available at 4 o'clock to answer your phone if it rings, because the lines close at 4, and that's when we're ringing our lucky winner. It's for 18s and over, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's can be found at talksport.com. So for your chance to win £20,000, the simple way to enter is text the word WIN to 83338 now. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT, and it's Danny Murphy, Darren Lewis, Natalie Sawyer with you this evening. What?
Interesting, better than whatever we were
I
going to
know,
do.
you were sharing something.
No,
What's
it's better than whatever nonsense we're going to talk about now.
Go on.
Do you know the sky isn't actually blue?
Well, I didn't know this.
The sky
until you
appears
just
blue.
mentioned
It appears blue. I was listening to Brian Cox earlier today. You know, I had a bit of a slow day, didn't have much on. The sky appears blue due to Rayleigh scattering, where air molecules scatter shorter blue light waves more than longer red waves. Anyway, the same with blue eyes. Blue eyes aren't actually blue. It's an illusion. And only 10% of the population have got blue eyes.
And this obviously resonates for you because you're one of.
Yes, and you're one of the masses with brown eyes. But you know, we've got what we're given. What can we do? But I thought that was interesting because I quite like the blue sky, and now I'm looking at it going, it's not even blue.
Oh, bless you.
I think
I wish I'd seen you earlier.
Every week on the show.
I think we should do like an astrology slot even. Yeah,
every week.
Oh no, we don't want to go down. Do you know what? I don't like
signs?
No, I don't like star signs.
You should.
No, I'm not a big bit. I don't even like knowing about anything beyond Earth.
Really?
Yeah, I get freaked out about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just like to stay where I am. Thanks. I'm quite happy.
Right. Okay. At the same time next week.
You like the sun?
Do I like the sun?
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. It brings us
a
joy.
bit of away from Earth.
Yeah. But it can stay there and we can stay here. I don't need to know about anything else. It just freaks me out a little bit. I don't know why. Even in my old age, it does. I don't know.
Well, you know, like, wouldn't you? I'd class us three as reasonably bright people. Did you know that the sky wasn't blue? I didn't till today. You're saying you knew?
Yeah, you did.
Not as in detail.
The
like
reason.
you,
Well, no, I didn't know it. I read it.
I only knew it because it was one of the. I studied art at school, A-level, and you learn that what you see as a colour is actually made up of lots of different colours, and so you learn it. It's one of those irrelevant things. I learned about painters like Braque and Matisse and all that sort of thing. So I
think you've deviated a little bit.
You've gone highbrow.
Mixing
well, you didn't ask, so I just
bring up.
I didn't want to say anything.
He didn't know. That's a lie.
I know. The good thing is we're going to have to Phil now for a minute or so because.
Oh, no, we can carry on.
We haven't really got.
I need to find out if anyone knows and can just drop us a message in what percentage of the population has got green eyes. What is it? Brown, blue, green. What else?
That's about it.
Some people have one of each, don't they?
Yeah.
No, they do.
No, they do. But I think it's very low.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
See, you're more common than them with your 10%ers.
I know, but I'm less common than you, aren't I? And you.
Okay. And with that, we're going to take an early break because we're falling.
Gosh.
On the way next, we will talk about England more. We'll talk about England, Japan, what the chaps think we should expect from that game. We'll also get your thoughts on Ben White and what happened at Wembley on Friday night as well, right here on Kickoff.
This is the fourth shortest reign of any Premier League manager. Just 5 days longer than Ange at Forest and 35 longer than 9-day Tudor Queen Lady Jane Grey. Oh no, you're taking a mickey now. And for a bit more context, it's thought that the average human would be able to walk from London to the heart of the Swiss Alps in such time as Tudor has been in charge. I want to know who worked that one out. We're going to take a call on somebody that's called 03717 223344. It's Eli. Eli, very good morning to you. Thanks for
Good
taking
morning,
the time
Eli.
to call us this morning. Is this the right thing that's happened, Eli?
Yeah, good morning. Talking about Tottenham Hotspur now, my club that I've supported over maybe 50 odd years.
Yeah.
What I'm saying to you is, picking the manager, I'm not sure which type of manager you want for the next 7 games, but I don't think it would hurt for a massive football reset, a Tottenham Hotspur reset, to actually go down.
Oh, that's a heck of a statement to make, Eli, because look, I don't think there's any guarantees you can back up, mate. Are you saying you could go down, spend a couple of years down there, rebuild and come back up? Is that what you're saying?
talkSPORT understands Roberto Deserby is close to a 5-year agreement with Spurs following a breakthrough in talks. Our chief football correspondent is Alex Crook.
I'm told there's a very lucrative bonus on offer to Deserby if he comes in and keeps Spurs in the Premier League, and sources in Italy this morning suggesting a 5-year contract as well until 2030. It's a massive risk, isn't it, for both parties?
Deserby is expected to become the highest paid manager in Tottenham's history and the 3rd highest paid in the league, but he'll take a significant pay cut if they go down. Simon Jordan believes Deserby won't be blamed should Spurs get relegated and can take inspiration from Rafa Benitez's time at Newcastle.
Bring them back up again in his own image, with a new set of thinking behind it, and a board that's going to be sat there going, we've made an absolute horlicks of this. This manager might need to be given all the things that previous managers haven't been given, which is a lot of latitude and a lot more control.
Elsewhere, Thomas Tuchel has, in his own words, set the narrative straight about the withdrawal of Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka from the England camp. It's after talkSPORT's Gambiak Bonlahor raised suspicions that Arteta was doing a Fergie by tactically pulling players out.
If it would have been maybe a last game of the season, we would have kept them and tried everything. But in this moment of the season, it did not make sense. They were both in discomfort, clearly in discomfort, when we did the medical assessment. So it made absolutely no sense that they stay.
Tuchel told us Saka played through pain in the League Cup final. Jude Bellingham is also not fit enough to face Japan, live on talkSPORT tomorrow night. Meanwhile, the England boss has also been asked, what's plan B if Harry Kane gets injured?
I have some ideas, but I will not make them public. I'm happy that Harry is in camp and back in camp, our skipper and captain and goal scorer, and he will lead the team tomorrow on the pitch.
And Celtic have paid a 5-figure sum to a victim of historical sexual abuse, settling a case a month after it started. The man, who cannot be named for legal reasons, claims he was attacked by Frank Kearney at Celtic Boys Club in 1989. Coach Kearney had previously been convicted of 9 charges of abusing young footballers in the 1980s. There's more, as ever, on talkSPORT.com.
Good evening. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT, and it's a real pleasure to have your company this evening. You are joined by part of the 10% Blue-Eyed Club, Danny Murphy, and the Brown-Eyed Commoners of Darren Lewis and me, Natalie Sawyer. We're with you until 10 o'clock this morning. Did find out a really interesting fact.
Did you just say this morning?
Did I say this morning? This evening? I did say this morning.
It's a long shift.
I know. I work so much. It's very hard. Did you? Somebody has texted in, and I have expanded my research, where I want to find the message first. Here we go.
What would help?
About blue eyes, that all people with blue eyes are descendants from the same one individual.
Yeah, he said that. I listened to that bit this morning. It's not completely factual. It's more of a bit of guesswork. That.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Just that one particular fact is guesswork.
Well, not guesswork. But they're not. There's a chance, he said, that could be the case. He didn't say definitively. And I'm a Coxey fan, so I'm going to stick with Brian.
Coxey fan, okay. Dr. Brian Cox, yeah, he's very good because he He's a scientist. He's a musician because he was part of D-Ream, wasn't he?
Was he part of D-Ream?
D-Ream, yes. Wow. Yes, things can only get better.
Yeah, well, they can on this show, that's for sure.
I was going to say that for Ben White as well, having been returned to the England fold by his selection by Thomas Tuchel. And it was, well, quite a return on Friday night, wasn't it? When he came on as a substitute, was booed by some of the England fans, then scored what many thought might have been the winning goal, and then not long after then conceded a penalty that led to Uruguay's equaliser. Before we get your thoughts on all of that, let's hear from the former England right-back Danny Mills, who joined the Sunday edition yesterday. And he believes we still need to know why Ben White walked out of the England squad at Qatar.
There has been no story that has ever come out of the World Cup when Ben White left to say that Gareth did something wrong or Steve Holland did something wrong. There is no way on this planet in 4 years that if there was a big story, that would have not come out. Because a player would have told an agent, a friend, this and that. Somebody would know, and that story would be out there. So first and foremost, there is no story to come out, as opposed to a member of staff mistreated a player in that way. Mm-hmm. Now, let's flip it the other way around. Ben White needs to explain why he walked out of an England camp in a World Cup.
All right, so that's Danny Mills. I can see, Darren, you're perplexed as to why he's asking that.
No, I'm not. Listen, I'm a journalist. My commodity is information, so I'm interested. But I don't think that it has to happen before he can ever play for England again. I mean, I've said this before. We're talking about football. We're not talking about the army or swearing allegiance to the king or whatever else. I think we argued about this on the show for full disclosure because last week, whatever happened under a completely different regime. Tuchel probably doesn't even care.
He won't care.
Tuchel will come in and he'll say, can this guy do a job for me? If he can, he's coming to the World Cup. And the fact that he scored the other day, Tuchel will feel particularly vindicated selecting him.
Well, he gave the pen away though, didn't he?
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, I don't think that was a pen.
I think it was 50-50, but...
So, but look, just on the wider point of the booing. And Adrian's not here, but if he were here, I'd say the same thing. Because I argued that case for him for White last week. It's not as big an issue as is being made out. Adrian thinks, no, he shouldn't be playing, and I'm sympathetic to Adrian's point of view, absolutely, yeah. But we are a nation that self-sabotages so often. Managers self-sabotage. But, you go back to Hodley in 82, the FA not allowing Terry Venables to stay in the England job, Glenn Hoddle leaving out David Beckham, the managers making points. And, we are a nation obsessed with self-sabotage. And if Ben White can come into an England squad and be an alternative to or an effective piece of the jigsaw that Danny's been talking about, why are we going to go obsessing over that? Do I want to know? Am I interested? Yes, I am. I'm not going to lie. Of course I'm interested.
Well, there is a theory that's out there, so Danny just hasn't heard it.
Exactly.
The theory that was out there is that he was given a
laptop
to watch
a
player he might possibly come up against, and he refused to watch it because he said, there's no way I'm going to play, so I'm not going to watch it.
And that was a story broken brilliantly by a guy called Jeremy Cross, who works for Daily Star, who I was at the World Cup when he broke it, and he put it to all of the relevant agencies, if you like, and people climbed up, but he made his checks and his balances before he put it into the public domain. But again, should it preclude Ben White from playing for the national team? No.
Well,
I don't agree with that at all. And listen, you know me, I'd be, if I'm critical, I'd be the first to be critical, but I don't see how we can just continue obsessing over this instead of trying to move forward.
What I was going to say is, and I completely get your point, and I'm kind of not bothered either way. If he's in, he's in. He's in there for a reason. If he's not, it's because he's there, not in there for a reason as well. But what I was going to say is I was on Thursday night and we spoke to Faye Carruthers. And obviously she'd just spoken to Thomas Tuchel and they discussed Ben White. And she had mentioned that Tuchel had said that Ben White was going to have to clear the air with some of the players who were coming into the squad on the Friday. As we know, the 11 that weren't involved earlier on. For you to be saying you're going to have clear the air talks, to me, suggests this is a bigger problem in the sense that clearly those players are not happy with maybe Ben White being selected. I'm surmising, I'm just guessing.
I'm going to take a leaf out of Danny's book. I think Tuchel's saying that. Tuchel is superb at managing media.
Oh,
superb. I remember covering Chelsea when I was there, and with the whole Roman Abramovich thing, and he was exactly the right man for the right time. And I think with this...
thing to say, though.
That's what I mean.
It might be a silly thing to say, and it wouldn't be the first time he said something silly. But on the flip side, I wonder if behind the scenes the players are like, don't care.
Well, maybe so.
Players care about themselves. You've said a million times.
The point I'm
You've
making...
sat here and said to me a million times, players don't care.
There's absolutely no way any player has gone to Tuchel and said, I've got a problem with Ben White coming back in. No chance.
Okay, but if that's the case, then why is there suggestion there had to be a clear the air talks? When he also said, on the absence of Trent Alexander-Arnold, part of the reason he wasn't included in this squad was it's not about collecting talent, but arriving with the best team. The best team is not just all about the individuals, it's about the ethos, it's about the unity of the team. And then he's talking about having clear the air talks.
Listen,
It's a strange one. It is a strange one. The only reason there would be clear the air talks is if he had maybe had to do with another player and was advised to go home after that. But that would have come out, I think. Absolutely. So I don't know why he said that. You're right to bring it up because it does throw a little bit of. What does he need?
An odd thing to do.
What would he need? What would he need clear the air talks for? Because what player in that squad when he left would have been bothered?
Players don't care. And look, I'm going to contradict myself slightly here because I talked about Tuchel being so good at club level, managing Chelsea when I was there. And so when they're that good, your instinct is to kind of use that as a reference point. So, but there are one or two things he said since he became England manager that have raised your eyebrows. You know, the Trent thing is one of them because Trent's attitude is first class. Trent as a footballer is first class. I know there is this obsession with what he can't do going the other way. Yeah.
Maybe it's not a football thing.
Exactly, because Trent as a footballer... You know, he's won all there is to win with Liverpool. He's not been a problem at Liverpool. So, you know, he's been so good that fans have wanted him to stay at Liverpool rather than leave on a free transfer. I think it's insane that you would not take one of the most decorated right-backs that we have in this country to a major tournament, firstly. Second of all, you know, like you say, Danny, the Ben White thing, he's either trying to pander to this kind of, well, Ben White's an issue, so we've got to, you know, draw a line under it somehow. So, you know, he's had some clear the air talks in inverted commas.
Yeah.
Or
maybe
he said something else that is like...
We don't know about,
Yeah.
And clearly,
won't be a
some
problem
of the fan
anyway.
base aren't having him.
He's not going to go. He's not going to go.
But this is what I'm talking about, self-sabotage about fan base. You know, I mean...
It won't matter over
why,
there.
why does he deserve to be in this England squad?
Deserve.
Yeah,
If you're a manager and you're tasked with putting together a squad of players that you think are effective enough to go and win the tournament...
But you've just said that Trent should... If
Yeah.
it was your squad, you'd have Trent in there. You'd have him over Ben White.
I might take Ben White...
You'd have him over Ben White.
Ben White is not... Ben White is a really good player, I like
Yeah.
him, but he doesn't deserve to be in the squad. He hasn't played enough games for Arsenal.
But
the reason he's in the squad, I think, is twofold. One, he can play centre half and right back.
Mm-hmm.
Kwanzaa pulled out.
Yeah.
Not Kwanzaa pulled out. Who he has played right back.
Mm-hmm.
He's got Livramento, he's got James injured, right? The other thing, he probably thought, you know what? Saka's not been at his best. You know, maybe he was thinking, I'll bring Ben White and he can play with him. He didn't play with him, actually, because Saka's gone home, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Did he play? No, Saka didn't play.
No.
So I was thinking maybe he thought, well, a couple of years ago, they had a great relationship, didn't they, down the right side for Arsenal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So maybe that'll give Saka a little boost. Whatever his thought process wasn't that out there. He has played the last few games for Arsenal, to be fair, so he's probably seen him play well the last couple of weeks. But I don't think he didn't get in the original 35-man squad, was it? 35?
Right. Yeah.
That's with Reece James injured. It's highly unlikely he's going to go. I don't think it's going to be a problem moving forward. The final thing I would say is I do find it strange as a player, thinking at it from my point of view, with the speculation around all those years ago, how difficult, what is the reason why you can't just say, look, I was out of order. I threw me toys out the pram. I've learned from it. I'm bigger and better now. Just what? The secrecy actually creates more of a problem.
And that's what Danny Mills perhaps is saying.
That's why I go back to where I'm starting. I'm in the information business. You'll never see me sitting here saying, oh, a player shouldn't talk, But I love to hear people talk. All I'm saying is I am not hung up on what happened under a different manager, different regime, at a different tournament. We have to move on. We get way too stuck in the past. And it's one of our failings. I know you were very, all the specificity around the last tournament and us not being very good, but there are factors about us and our football culture where we get hung up on stuff. And, and God forbid something were to happen and where there was a set of circumstances where we would need Ben White. It's good management to make sure that you can actually repair those bridges and have him in and sort all of that out so that we can move on.
No, that's very true. I don't disagree with you on that. But Danny Mills is actually feverishly writing messages to me. And this is what he had to say on the subject of Ben White again in his right of reply once more. He says he also refused to play for Carsley, so let's not forget that. He said, if you were asked to do a job, you refused to do it and your coach manager pulled you up on it, that's a problem. You think that gives you the right to then simply walk out. So if he was asked to mark someone at corners and refused, should we just say, okay, that's fine, let him have let him away with it?
Good.
They're good points.
They're fair points. But again, what I would say to Dan, and it'd be great if because I've been on with him before, it'd be great if he were here. What I would say is this. He's been a player, you've been a player. Something might happen under a different manager. Once that manager goes and someone else comes in, one of the things they say to you is what? Clean slate.
Clean slate,
yeah.
No, but what Danny's saying there, if certain things that he doesn't do are transparent to the other players, there is a time where players will go, enough's enough with him. Even at club level, someone keeps overstepping, keeps thinking they're above the group. Yeah, but the fact we don't know creates the problem, doesn't it?
Dan, can I ask you though? You don't, if Dan was here, I'd ask him as well. The dynamics of when he scored that goal and everyone goes rushing over to him. Do you read anything about the body language there connected around that?
No, I don't.
There's an issue.
I don't see the lads having an issue. I don't think if there was a big issue, Tuchel wouldn't have brought him in because he didn't need him. I don't think there is a big one. But that hence me saying, why not just come out and say whatever it is and be done with it? But Danny makes some good point. I mean, Danny's a passionate player who plays for England with his heart, and he's got a valid view. I think as years go by, you just become a bit more pragmatic with your views. It's 100%. Like if he needs him and there's a couple of injuries at right back, he can play centre half as well. So it doesn't bother me.
I think we have to be careful of not lending to the self-sabotage as well, because we don't know a lot can happen. You look at the number 10 position with England, right, and so many players who we were raving about last year, so many of them are out of form, struggling. You don't know what can happen between now and the World Cup, and if we get to that point, we don't want to be creating a set of circumstances that precludes a player who could do a job for us from not being part of the squad to go to the World Cup. And then we stick it on the manager's toes and say it's his problem when let's not kid ourselves, and I include myself in this, are part of the problem by creating a problem that
it's only him that's the problem with. There's nobody else. That's the only one, isn't it? That's the only one really I can think of where...
I suppose the other issue, and I know it's already been talked about because even Tuchel's been asked, but it is about the exclusion of certain players. That's the other issues that are in order.
But that's a choice, isn't it?
Of course, yeah. But it's the whole, why is Trent not there? Why has Ollie Watkins not been?
They're valid questions.
Yeah.
I think they are valid questions. I don't have any issue with those questions at all. But something that happened under another manager, another regime, another culture, another atmosphere.
Let it go.
Let it go.
We will let it go then. You are listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over, gambleaware.org.
Do you trust the Spurs ownership to get this next appointment right?
Do I trust the Spurs ownership? I don't know. Do I rate the Spurs ownership?
Well, you said you're not sure that you know what they're doing.
It's not for me to trust them because I don't care about their judgment. But do I rate their judgment? Well, not at this moment in time, because the body of work that they've produced is poor. They weren't responsible for the appointment of Thomas Frank, so there's an irrelevance to that question because Daniel Levy made that appointment. The fact that he fired him, the fact that was an inevitability and forecast by me 2 or 3 months earlier isn't a surprise. The fact that they've in my mind, they've got 2 people that are number 2s in business, running the business and making decisions with outside influences that sit on their board that don't have any football knowledge, in my view, making decisions, has brought out outcomes that would make anybody go, well, I don't really rate their thinking. As far as Deserby is concerned, he's a decent manager. He comes with his own baggage like most of them do. He did a decent job at Brighton. He was an ungrateful little wretch when he departed because he decided to have a broadside at the owner of the football club that spent enormous amounts of time giving him an opportunity and backing him. Just because you lost a game in Europe doesn't really entitle you to have a broadside at your ownership model. But that's what he does, and that's what you get. Now, for him, taking Tottenham Hotspur, I think there's all upside for him. This is a huge football club. Irrespective if it gets relegated or not, my balance of probabilities it will bounce back again. And it'll be priced into people's thinking. If he takes the Tottenham job because of the size of that football club and the scale of it,
touch to turn it over the line. An England Wembley crowd booing a player who scores his first England goal that we all think is going to be a winner. Never heard anything quite like that before. And this is going to end 1-1. First goal that England have conceded in 630 minutes of play.
I wouldn't judge this performance until we see Tuesday.
A well-drilled, a well-trained team. If we don't get it right, there's always a chance to be punished.
Itauma on the far side. Itauma wants to shoot and does and scores!
So we need to be smart and fully committed.
To kick off for this Monday evening, it is Darren Lewis, Danny Murphy and Natalie Sawyer with you, and we are taking you through until 10 o'clock, and then you have the Sports Bar to look forward to. One more international for England in this break to come before, of course, we return to domestic matters with the Premier League, Championship, some EFL games, of course, returning as well. And then we will get ever closer to the day where Thomas Tuchel has to name his final World Cup squad. England taking on Japan tomorrow night, live on talkSPORT. You'll be in the company of Adrian Durham, Jim Proudfoot and former England captain Stuart Pearce. Let's hear from Thomas Tuchel then, who has been speaking to our England correspondent Faye Carruthers about the changes within the team.
There is a media narrative, 11 Arsenal players pulling out of international duty overall. 3 England players. We know that Noni left Wembley in a knee brace. Can you understand why that narrative tends to kind of come out? And
because everyone can do the math, and it's a lot of players, of course, and given the situation at Arsenal, it looks a bit suspicious. But I can only talk for our players. Noni played. He got lucky that it's not worse, but he is out for some days. Declan reported he went even out on the pitch to try, but it's the moment of the season where I am also not willing to take any risk with him. And Bukayo tried. He played with pain through the final, which we could see that he had not the same impact that he wishes to have for his club against Man City in the final. You can see it. We will not push players now with 70% through a friendly match. Because they will be judged. If once you arrive on the pitch, once you play, you're judged, and you're judged like you're fit, and he's clearly not a 100%.
Ben White is fit and has stayed. How was he after that? Because I don't think I can ever recall an England player scoring a goal for England and being booed?
I was not even aware of it, so it could be not that bad because I didn't hear it. But obviously it's a big talking point, which is actually disappointing and makes me sad. If a player scores for us and it is booed, I understood also that it happened before to other players. So hopefully we got it out of the system. I'm not happy about it. I was disappointed about it. Ben for sure as well. But the team at the moment and the team spirit is that good that they can, like, how would I call it, that they can cope with it. They can lift him up straight away. That's what they did, and he had good training sessions and is ready to go.
Just finally, how close do you feel you are now, having had the players in training this past week, and after, obviously you'll know a little bit more after the Japan match, but how much closer are you to knowing you're 26?
The honest answer is I don't know. I'm very close to know my starting 11 tomorrow, and I'm happy that I don't have to make a choice who's on the bench. We just put everyone. That is a good situation. And then for the 26th, I think a lot of headache is coming. I can see it. A lot of thinking will be made in the next months. But let's cross the bridge when we're at the river.
So that was Thomas Tuchel speaking to our England correspondent Faye Carruthers ahead of tomorrow night's friendly with Japan. So, kind of a chance for you both to give us your thoughts on what you want to see from this England team that he decides to put out. We're all expecting it to be a stronger 11 based on last Friday and what happened in that Uruguay team. I mean, you said earlier on, Darren, you don't necessarily want to see Harry Kane play, but you get the feeling he probably will play.
He'll play. And the thing is, he'll play and we won't learn anything we didn't already know, that he is an absolute icon of the game. That he'll be one of the best strikers at the World Cup and he'll be superb. Personally, I think we could do with resting him. He's been brilliant for Bayern Munich so far this season. I'm sure they would want him to be rested as well. But, you know, he's a leader and he'll want to be out there leading the team, leading the players, leading the country. I just feel as an England fan, when I watch the nation, I want to find out a bit about the players behind him because we don't know enough about the players behind him. You know, we know what they can do, obviously, with a club shirt on, but how do they interlock with the supply line that will be behind them? Who's going to play in the 10? Who's going to play in the wide areas? You know, how are we going to get the ammunition to an alternative to Harry Kane so that when we are at the World Cup and if Harry's feeling his hamstring or his, you know, feeling a knock, whatever, we're not going to be getting the Premier out like we used to for Beckham or Rooney or Owen. That's the only thing. It's a personal thing, but when I watch England, I want to learn something rather than celebrate the same wonderful, gifted, superb players time and again. But I want to learn something about the understudies.
The problem you've always got is that when new players come in, if there's too many at once, it's really difficult. You know, I was part of the Sven era where we changed everyone at half time, and it can be a little bit all over the place. Ideally, you'd want the core of the players to be the same. And as you say, if Kane wasn't there, the same two wingers or the same 10 is playing now with this different striker. How
I'm
you
not against that.
I know,
yeah,
but we can't because of the scheduling. I think the other night was a strange one because you've got Lewis Hall playing the best football of his life at Newcastle. Okay, he might have O'Reilly ahead of him now, fair enough. That's a personal thing where I think Hall's a better defender. O'Reilly's been brilliant for City, but he's not really a fullback. And he plays Jed Spence there, right footer. And I'm thinking, why would you do that?
Yeah.
You know, Lewis Hall's a young lad. He's like, let's see how he does. We've seen Jed Spence play for him. We've seen Jed Spence play for Tottenham. He's a right back. He's not a left back. He's not comfortable going on his left foot. Why would we go down and make the same mistakes? Years and years we've been watching England going, God, let's hope Luke Shaw's fit. Because if he's not, who have we got?
Yeah.
And he plays a right foot. Why would you play Jordan Henderson?
Hang
He's taking Jordan Henderson.
Take him by all means, no problem. It's not
just for 1 second.
It's not a criticism.
Celebrate Brentford had an England captain playing. just
No,
for
this
one
ain't a criticism of Jordan.
No, I know. I'm just had.
We know what Jordan can do. Full stop. He's never ever going to let you down. If he has to play for England, he'll know how to do the job. He's a leader. Fine. But in a friendly, why would you need him?
Yeah. No, I agree.
Give some of the lads. Start Wharton. Let's see how he does. Yeah. Came off the bench.
Dan, can I put to you, if we go back to where we started this whole evening, leadership. If you've got him on the pitch, you've got an older head, so that you've got some of these players who, I mean, Wharton hasn't got that many caps. You've got a couple of other younger players in relative terms. You've got the manager's voice on the pitch. I remember when he called him out the first time.
Maybe there's a degree of that, but not in a friendly against Uruguay.
Well, you do. They're tough opponents. Uruguay went into it, as we saw, with a lot of venom.
Maguire behind him who's experienced, who could talk midfielders through it. He could help Wharton.
I don't think Maguire, frankly, has got.
He's the captain of Man United.
Hendo's stature.
Well, he was the captain of Man United.
You know, that Hendo's won the title. He's been the leader, the voice in a Liverpool side that have been successful winning the title, winning the Champions League. Maguire hasn't.
But if you're talking about what you said about seeing players on the periphery or the younger players come in and see how they can cope, Wembley's probably a good place to do it. You know you're going to have a lot of the ball. Do you need that much? You've got Maguire, you've got Henderson. It's like, I don't know. I just didn't. Right back at left back, left back. It's like, what?
It posed a lot of questions, really, and I don't think we got the answers in the sense that the performance didn't.
The only plus of that game was Ghana. Maguire did okay, but you know he's going to anyway because he wasn't really tested. The only enjoyable thing about the game was watching Valverde because he just looked like he was playing with. Like he was the oldest in the class, and he was playing with all the younger boys.
Well, actually,
it was just unbelievable.
There was a caller I heard earlier on, and forgive me, I can't remember which show it was. It might have been Drive, where they rang up to say what was the point of Friday night and the experimental 11, especially when a lot of those players probably won't be selected. Yeah, and then surely if you're going to use those players, you use them as a sub coming on to see how they blend with the regular 11, like you kind of just alluded to, really.
But I think the only thing I would say
it was pointless.
We as fans, we don't know what Tuchel is looking at. We don't know what he is exploring. And this is the thing about friendlies that frustrates everybody because we for obvious reasons, we trumpet them, we get behind them, we invest in them, if you like, emotionally. But the manager does what the manager wants because he is getting paid to get results.
And he's got his own ideas.
And he's got his own ideas.
Fair enough. I like the fact that he stays true to what he's sticking with a similar system. His wingers are always dynamic. Rashford and Madueke, two dynamic players, great to watch, can really hurt teams. I don't think we're going to see Palmer play on the right or Rodgers play on the left, although I think both have done really well in those positions for their clubs at times. I think he's got. I really believe that he'll go to the World Cup and have a good go. I don't think he'll be as pragmatic as Gareth. I think he'll really go after teams.
Can I ask you two questions, Danny? The first one, Sam Wallace in the Telegraph did a superb piece about Uruguay would not have left any of our England players in a heap if they'd had an enforcer, a bully in the middle of the pitch, if you like, a Roy Keane type figure. And I thought it was a really good piece because it did make me think, it's true, where was there somebody coming in to basically worry the Uruguay players out of it kind of thing?
Well, I think the two best we've got at the moment didn't play, Rice and Elliot Anderson.
Are any of them sort of that way-minded? Are they snarling in your face what you're doing to our players?
Well, there's nobody won the ball back more for his team this season in any Premier League side than Elliot Anderson.
Isn't that a different thing to being a Roy Keane type?
You can't kick people these days, though, can you? It's gone. I don't think you can go and leave marks on people and ruffle people anymore without yellers, and you've just got to win the ball back. I think Elliot Anderson's as good as we've got in that position, and he'll probably play, I would imagine, against Japan. I think you can always find something we're missing or something we need better. Or ultimately, until the squad is picked and we know who's fit, that will give us an indicator of where we're at. Because God forbid, and I say this now, if Harry Kane has a bad injury near the end of the season, he can't go to the World Cup, we're not winning it.
There you go. But that underlines my point. We keep seeing him in these friendlies And we're not learning anything. What we're doing is saying, isn't Harry Kane great? Well, I love Harry Kane to pieces. You do. Everyone listening all around the country does. But what are we learning?
What if he says to you, because he says, listen, give me 60 minutes of one of the games. Otherwise, what's the point of me coming?
Is there a slight difference, though, because he's the captain, so he should be there?
Yeah, but we can make that case, and make that, we can make that case, and we're right to make that case.
Yeah.
But let's not kid ourselves. We can't have it both ways.
No, you can't. He's been tired in a lot of tournaments.
Exactly.
Really tired.
Yeah.
And then
he's also been carrying injuries in tournaments.
I'm with you. I'd have said stay there, stay in Germany, unless But he's that type of lad, though. He wants to come.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Beckham was the same.
I wouldn't dare criticise him for that. Don't get me wrong. I am not being critical. I'm just saying we are England on a loop. Harry Kane is so brilliant that we celebrate him, rightly so. But we are not learning about the other strikers who we should be putting into that position, seeing how they cope.
Okay. Well, we might carry this on after the break. But
because I know the best. But I know the best replacement for him.
Okay. Well, wait there. Then we will have to talk about that after the break. But just to remind you, England-Japan is live on talkSPORT tomorrow night, 7:45. It kicks off at. We will obviously find out who Danny thinks is the best replacement for Harry Kane. That's next.
Friday night, England drew 1-1 with Uruguay. Ben White making his first appearance for his country since he walked out at the Qatar 2022 World Cup camp due to a reported falling out with the then assistant Steve Holland. So, Ben White on Friday night, Martin, a bit of an eventful night for Ben, to put it mildly. He gets booed when he put the ball in the back of the net, and he gave away the penalty in the 94th minute to see the game finish 1-1. And he was booed as he came off. Jonathan Norcroft in the Times, it's an angry world and modern football crowds exhibit it. But booing a player after scoring for your country is still difficult to comprehend. Supporters do need to hear Ben White express some sort of regret. White is shy, but it's not too much to ask him to talk. We didn't hear from Ben, but we heard from Tuchel on the boos.
Disappointed if our players are booed. I understood that it happened before to players and they went through it and took it on the chin. Still, I don't like it. Still, I'm disappointed. I will always protect my players. He did so well in training and he scored for us, so it could have been a perfect comeback. But it was mixed reactions. It was not only boos, some cheered, so let's hope we put this behind us.
Martin, Jonathan Norcroft in the Times were saying that maybe if he's going to continue his international career, Ben White, he should explain.
This is talkSPORT, and it is Danny Murphy, Darren Lewis and Natalie Sawyer with you until 10, and the Sports Bar will be coming your way. What a cliffhanger we left things on.
Oh,
Danny,
yeah.
do Oh, yeah. You said you know who the...
So I've got my half-joking answer, but I might... No, and I've got a real one.
Okay, go on.
Because I was thinking about it the other day with the lack of form and the strikers behind him. The real answer would be, and we don't have to go back too long to remember the impact Jude Bellingham had at Madrid in his first season. A lot of those games he played as a false nine. And that would free him up to not have to defend, and we know he's a match winner.
Yeah.
So the worry around Solanke or Calvert-Lewin or Watkins, for me, is a little bit less, knowing that Bellingham, as long as he's fit, he can do it.
Interesting.
And he's done it in the biggest games, by the way.
Well, Ollie Holt's done a superb piece about if Tuchel doesn't take Bellingham, it will be a massive act of self-sabotage.
Oh, we can't win it with it. I think he's that important.
I totally agree.
And I think he starts as a 10 if he's fit, even though Rodgers has been great and Palmer's great. But the other thing we're forgetting, and this may sound a little bit jokey to some people, but how many times, I'm talking about the last 10 minutes of games here, by the way, if we're losing or we need a goal or whatever, have you seen anybody be able to handle Harry Maguire when United throw him up front?
Yeah.
I know people are going to laugh at that.
Fair point.
I would take him just for that. Because he can fill in at centre-half, done it loads of times, comfortable, great on set plays, no problem. But if you're 1-0 down and you throw him on, I'm telling you now, I've not seen anybody cope with him.
Well, it's the havoc he causes.
But if you then take him, who do you drop? Do you drop a striker? And if you do...
No, you take him as a centre-half because we're not blessed.
Konsa, a fit Stones, Gahey.
Dan Burn is in there.
Burn.
No, I'd have Maguire ahead of Burn.
You'd have Maguire ahead of Burn?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you need 4, don't
and
you?
He might take
Konsa might go.
Yeah.
Most take 4 or 5.
Right, okay. So, right, okay.
That ends that then.
No, it wasn't a debate. I was just going through them.
them. Okay. Well, both. I actually don't.
I've not seen anybody handle him when he goes up top.
No.
And United pump balls into him, especially in the games where they were struggling, desperate to get back in. Nobody can handle it.
I'll be honest though, with our group, and I'm sure you're talking about knockout stage and all that, but in our group, I would hope that we are able to play the football. That means that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I meant more in the games. Like games. How many games in Germany did we have late in the game where we're desperate for a goal?
Yeah.
100%.
Quite a lot.
But obviously, as well, with some of the players that are potentially we think might be on the plane, they can play in versatile roles.
Yes.
There are false number 9s that some of these players have played. I mean, Marcus Rashford obviously can play up front, for example. There's been suggestions Phil Foden could do it, but we know obviously Anthony Gordon can. Harvey Barnes has done it previously as well. So there are options, is there not?
There is, but I think ideally you'd want someone who plays the role as a striker.
Well, Jarrod Bowen,
Watkins was the perfect foil, wasn't he? In the he got the goal in the semi-final. He he run in behind teams. He made a difference when he come off the bench.
You know what's interesting about Watkins? He's responded to not being in the squad in the right way.
Yeah,
by obviously scoring goals, and I think as far as I'll be amazed if we get to the final squad and Watkins isn't in it.
Do you think?
Do you think he has to have a second striker like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Without doubt.
Well, Watkins can be aggrieved because he can say, when I was needed off the bench in a big game, semi-final, I came off the bench and I did what...
But he did well in other games as well, to be fair to him.
But this is my point.
But he has been off it.
He's going as an understudy if he goes, right? Yeah. But he can argue when he was needed as an understudy, he delivered. Has he been off it? Has he lost his way? Yes. But has he picked up last couple of weeks? Yes. And I think that's a really good response.
If he has a good finish to the season, he'll go.
So is there any... Okay, so he wasn't named in this original 35-man squad. Is there anyone else you think... you can mention, obviously, Trent, but is there anybody else that you think could... If they had a really good, strong end to the season, could sneak in?
Welbeck could sneak in.
Yeah?
Yeah.
If Watkins, Calvert-Lewin and Solanke stay where they're at or drop off even more, and Welbeck keeps scoring, he's got to go.
I know number 10s were kind of littered with them, but could Morgan Gibbs-White get in there at all?
No.
No, not for you?
Bellingham's a cert.
Yep.
Rodgers is a cert. Palmer, Foden. They're the 4 you'd be choosing from.
So Eze doesn't get a look in?
I don't think so. He's got a few weeks out now. I love Eze, by the way, and if he's bang at it, it's just timing. If he's playing for Arsenal like he was a month ago, he should be in ahead of Foden.
Yeah.
You know, Morgan Rogers for more than a month, for 4 months for Villa, he was outstanding.
Yeah.
Outstanding and deserves his place.
But why are you so set on Foden? Why do you think Foden would get a nod when he hasn't been...
No, I'm not saying he would. I'm saying the 4-10s at the minute because Ez is injured.
Oh, did you not mention him? Sorry.
Yeah, so you got Rogers, Bellingham, Foden and Palmer. I think they all got picked, didn't they, this time?
Yes, that's right.
There's your 4.
Yeah.
So would you take 4? Not sure.
And the reason why, a big part of the reason why Bellingham would have an edge as well is that Foden's lost his form. Rogers tiny bit lost his way in the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks. Who's the other one?
Palmer.
Yeah, Palmer looks like he's kind of feeling the effects of what's going on at Chelsea.
Thing is with Palmer, though, he can just change a game in a minute.
He can.
I mean, Foden can, to be
But
fair.
Bellingham, you think, would arrive at the World Cup with the least miles on the clock and the least sort of stress.
The other thing, Daz, is that Bellingham has proven time and time again in massive games for England
100%
that he can produce.
100%.
And he does it. He's done it time and time again.
You mentioned, obviously, Bellingham playing as a striker. Could you ever see a possibility of him being the striker and actually Harry Kane playing a little bit deeper?
No.
That has been put to Tuchel, that as a question, and he hasn't said no to that.
I think that would happen naturally.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd start that way because it's just Kane's so good at what he does, and he's done it for so long from the same starting point. Why would you mess with him? Why would you make his brain like starting him deeper and then he's thinking?
No, you'd start Kane up top and then Bellingham behind. But Bellingham's got that game intelligence to arrive at the right times. But he's also got the composure where if an opportunity presents itself to him, he tucks it away, which is what he did in his first season so well at Real Madrid and what he's done time and again in big matches, which is why he's won so much already at his young age.
Goodness me, it's such choices to be made.
He's got great choices, and sometimes that's a problem.
No, well, do you think so? Because I mean, you guys are going to give me some stick, but I remember when we had so many. Our cupboard was so bare, and we didn't have a St George's Park, and we looked over the fence at Clairefontaine and La Masia, and why haven't we got that? Why haven't we? Now we do have, we can have this debate, and the guys can come in and slip a bit of paper in it, and you're talking about who's not there and why are they not there and why is this not there, why is that not? I think we should celebrate that. I looked on the thing at the weekend. France have got 4 teams potentially that they could put out at the World Cup. 4. There are some quality players that are not going to the World Cup for France. And by comparison, people might think, well, but we've got good players too, and we should celebrate that. It's a great problem to have.
Oh, it is. No one's denying that. But it's also the inevitable, whoever gets left out, it's going to be a big name.
Sometimes the big names, especially in the team, sometimes the big names aren't the right formula. We had big names in the golden generation, but we didn't have the right formula.
Yep.
Well, we'll learn in a few months' time, won't we? When he has to, I think he originally gets to name 35-man squad again.
Oh, is that what you got to do again?
And then you can whittle it down to 26.
It's hard that, as a player. I remember getting a call from Sven. I don't know how many named in the squad. Can't think what it was. And then he called a few of us. I was one, saying, I think there was 2 of us, maybe 3 were on standby. And I was like, okay. I was happy, but it was like, And luckily, because what would have happened, you'd had to keep yourself in trim and fit and ready because you weren't going with the squad. And then it just so happened, actually, the first pull-out was Stevie, who was a mate of mine back then. I knew he was struggling, and then Sven called me and said, you're in. So I only had a couple of days. But it's a tough one because one hand you're disappointed.
Yeah.
The other one you're hoping for it.
Yeah.
Do I train every day? Do I give it a week? Now it's different because they take them all, but it's still a difficult one for those lads going knowing they haven't got much chance.
Yeah.
Just hoping, and you got to be strong. Your mentality. You have to have a really clear focus about where you're at and in the hierarchy, what your job is, what you can do, how much influence you've got, all those things.
Yeah, well, that's to come in May time when Thomas Tuchel will have to name that bigger squad, which will then have to be trimmed down ahead of the World Cup. Okay, on the way next, we're going to speak about a former England manager who's back in management at the ripe old age of 78, someone you know particularly well.
I do.
Roy Hodgson, and also someone who's just starting their managerial career, Jermaine Defoe. That's next.
Is Itauma the sort of fighter, Dave, that the likes of Fury, the likes of AJ, you know, that they're in the mid-30s now, they're trying to avoid, and maybe more like a Fabio Wardley and Dubois would be one of the fights that you'll have next?
Yeah, Joshua and Fury won't go near him. He's too young, too fresh, too fast. You know, their best days have gone. So, Itauma, realistically, he's looking at Dubois, Wardley winner. I don't think the Wardley winner. I think if Wardley wins, I don't think he'll box him because they're in the same gym. Dubois may. But Caballel, you know, Itauma's going to have to fight one of them guys. He's not going to get one of the old guard that's on the way out. He's going to have to box one of the real, you know, main men, which is Caballel. So it's interesting, and then he's going to be around for another 15 years, hopefully. You know, so there's going to be people we're not even heard of yet that are going to come and have a go at him.
Is that the danger with heavyweights like him, to be so strong and powerful but quick as well?
Yeah, it's the speed. All heavyweights can punch. For me personally, I've never been put over in a fight, never been down and out. That's because I can see him coming. The danger of the time is you don't really see him coming. He's that fast. You know, he throws a lovely right hook off the back of a left hand to the body, and no one sees it coming. That's what Franklin does well. Franklin doesn't get hit properly. That's why he's never been over. All his great chin talk for me is not.
The talkSPORT 20k giveaway.
It is competition time, and we are giving you the chance to win 20 grand, completely tax-free. That's £20,000. Don't miss your chance to win this huge amount of money. Here is how you can enter and maybe get a pen and paper ready for this. You can simply text the word WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate, so that's text the word WIN to 83338. But this is where you might want to have a pen and paper handy, because you can call this number 0343 418 7260. That's 0343 418 7260. Lines close on the 9th of April at 4 o'clock, and that is when you will need to answer your phone if it rings. It's only available for 18s and over and UK residents. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talksport.com can be found there. So, as a reminder, for your chance to win £20,000, text the word WIN to 83338 now. Okay, let's quickly get the thoughts of the fact that Roy Hodgson is back in management. 78 years of age. He's been asked to take over at Bristol City until the end of the season, taking over from Gerhard Struber. I mean, inevitably, there's the feeling of Mrs. Hodgson has probably just gone, can you just go? Please.
Do you know what? I saw him probably a year ago, maybe two, 18 months, something like that. And he was saying how much he missed it. Yeah. And looking at his interviews today, even in the press conference and on the pitch when he was talking, you see that life back in him. And he's a young 78, Roy, in terms of the way he thinks and the way he loves coaching. He'll still be out there doing it. It's ideal for him, a little short burst. You know, I think inevitably age catches up if you're doing it all whole season in the Championship. Can you imagine? Yeah. But I'm pleased for him because it's one last little go at it where he can help people, share some wisdom, help Bristol City out. And the smile on his face was nice to see. He looked so excited. And I tell you, even in a short space of time, whatever it is, 7 games, whatever it is, 5 weeks, some of those players will learn stuff from him because he's brilliant. He's a great coach, and his wisdom, where he's been in the game, he'll impart some knowledge and some nuggets around the training ground, and some of those lads will learn more in those 5 weeks than they have in probably the last year or two under certain managers. So I'm really pleased with him, and I hope it goes well. But he'll be enjoying it. He'll make the most of it.
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
And I'm pleased for I know you're going to talk about Jermaine as well, but I played with Jermaine, great lad. We got on well, and he loves the game, and he's given the game so much. I'm really pleased he's got an opportunity because he's got so much to give. He could probably still play, actually, Jermaine. That's how fit he is. But no, I'm really pleased for him as well. But it's 2 great appointments.
Yeah, well, Jermaine Defoe obviously has just been named the Woking manager. So that is in the National League. They're 11th, 9 points off the playoff places. Yes, Jermaine Defoe. I mean, having to go down to the conference or National League, of course, as we know it. But it's great that he's doing that.
Well, the wonderful thing about him is that he's really, really well organised. I know he's been looking for a job for a long time. He's done all of his research. He has really made it his business to understand the club, all about the club, the players, and the infrastructure and everything. And, listen, let's not kid ourselves. It has to be said that it's wonderful that him and Colin have had got jobs as black managers.
Colin Kazim-Richards at Crawley, yeah.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of storied, decorated leaders, strategists, really excel in the game but not get jobs in management. These are 2 young men who will walk into a dressing room, they'll have influence, they'll have authority, and they'll have respect as well for what they've done in the game, as Danny's been saying. So it's been terrific to see those clubs give them those opportunities, and we wish them well.
And also 2 managers that haven't just walked into these jobs, they've been working academy route, going down the academy route. Obviously, Jermaine was alongside Stephen Gerrard at Rangers too.
Yeah, he was alongside Stephen Gerrard
Danny,
at Rangers.
hop
He
off.
was at Spurs.
Danny has to leave us early, so cheerio, Danny.
Thanks, Danny. He was in the Spurs academy as well. And, what you can't learn from, for example, the likes of Defoe is not worth mentioning, because I remember there was a season where he scored something like 25 goals. It might have been 20 goals, and he had quite a lot of assists. And he wanted to make sure he was in good physical shape the following season. So he didn't go straight off on his holidays when the season ended. He spent some time looking after himself, and then he came back early, went to the south of France, worked with a fitness coach called Tiberius Doral, to make sure that he was in the best physical shape. And as Danny says, if you look at him now, he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he looks after himself. But most importantly, when you speak to him, you'll find out he is so intelligent and a real student of the game. And that's why I think he will be a terrific fit for Woking.
It's fabulous, isn't it? It's brilliant. And, he doesn't look like he's aged.
No, he doesn't.
Exactly the same.
Well, this is what I mean about him looking after himself. And I think, that he'll surprise a lot of people. I remember doing a show with him not so long ago, and there were certain things during the show I kind of stayed quiet, and I had to be reminded that I was part of the show as well. But it was just because to listen to Jermaine talk about football is a real education.
Okay. But wish him the best of luck, of course, at Woking, as we do Roy Hodgson as well. I can't believe something I didn't mention, and I should have mentioned. I'm quickly going to say it as my magic moment. I can't believe I forgot to mention Igor Thiago, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting his first cap for Brazil. And what I really loved about that, when he got the announcement, did you see the family video?
Yes.
Why do we not do the squad announcements like that on the telly? That's the best way of doing it.
We're way too reserved here in this country.
But it was so good to see his family reaction to his name being read out.
Brazil's main striker coming from Brentford. I never thought I'd see that in my lifetime.
We are living hazy days as Brentford fans, that's for sure. Darren, it's been an absolute pleasure, as always. On the way next for you here on talkSPORT, it's the Sports Bar, and Jamie O'Hara is alongside Carlton Cole. You can get your phone calls into them right now, 03717 223344.
with Mo Salah leaving, a lot of commentators have talked about the fact there's a lack of icons in the Premier League. Obviously, last year we had De Bruyne leave. You've had, over the course of the last few years, you've had Ronaldo back fleetingly. You've had Ibrahimovic here fleetingly. But the big boys don't come to the Premier League, do they? I mean, Haaland is probably the only global icon that is still there. Would that be fair? I mean, Son's not there anymore. De Bruyne's not there anymore. Salah's going. Kane, Ronaldo, Zlatan, all gone. Mbappe,